And welcome to the Township of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Wednesday, May 7th, and we will call ourselves to order here at 1 p.m. First item on our agenda is our national anthem, but before, and I missed this, just one moment please. Before we jump into that, I just would like to take a moment of silence to recognize the passing of the Mayor of Madawaska Valley, Mark Wilmer. Just a few weeks ago, we had a sudden passing in Madawaska Valley. Mark served for 6 years on the Madawaska Valley Council, 22 years with our prior council, and was an employee, I believe, with the City of Ottawa for 30 years. So massive amount of experience, massive impact in his community, and I know his departure will be missed by many. Myself and Ivan, we've reached out to the staff at Madawaska Valley, expressed our condolence on behalf of council, and I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge his passing in a moment of silence, and then we'll move into the national anthem. Good. Okay, please stand and face the flag. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our land acknowledgement. I ask Councillor Bell to do that today for us.
As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Township of Whitewater Region and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all of the generations of Indigenous people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation of the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve the May 7th, 2025 agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. So Councillor Moore, Councillor Tabbert. Any changes, additions, deletions that Council wants to make to the agenda? I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Unanimous. Next is the adoption of some minutes. We have the April 16th regular and closed session minutes. So the recommendation is the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve the regular and closed session minutes of April 16th, 2025, understanding that the closed session minutes remain confidential. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Bell, Councillor Trim. Any errors or omissions that you want to note in those minutes that were enclosed by CAO? Okay, I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Carried. It's unanimous. Good. Also attached to the agenda are 3 committees and boards sets of minutes. First is the Foresters Falls Athletic Association from March. We also have the Whitewater Region's Historical Society from March and Muskrat Watershed Council minutes from March. And I'll just give an opportunity. Councillor Bell is our lead for the first two. Is there any comments you want to make for council on those minutes?
Yeah, just quickly, it looks like the Forest Falls Athletic Association has a few projects at the rink and the ball diamond going on, as well as some events coming up. So just keep an eye on the calendar for that, as well as the Whitewater Region Historical Society. They have a number of events coming up this summer, and their opening date looks like it's going to be in June. So keep an eye on the township calendar for all the events that are coming out of there, because it looks like they've been busy. So.
Excellent, excellent, good. And Muskrat Watershed Council, our lead for that, Councillor Tabard, anything you want to add? Nothing? Perfect. Good. And no other questions or comments from other members? Good. Next is our disclosure. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest for any of the items listed on the agenda today? And I see none. Perfect. That leads us into our presentations. And our first up is Pembroke Airport. And I'm going to get Councillor Moore to introduce our guest speakers.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. With us today, on behalf of the Pembroke Area Airport, we have Alan Wren, who is chair of the Airport Commission. And we also have, as guests in the gallery, Natalie and Steve, who are full-time employees at the airport, and the airport would not function without them. So we do appreciate their work and their volunteerism in some cases. They do put in a lot of hours. So we'll let Alan go ahead with his annual presentation. Welcome, Alan.
Okay, thanks very much for allowing us time to come and talk to you about your airport. I always say that it's your airport. We're there to manage it on your behalf. And we'd like to thank Mike as a major contributor to all of our Airport Commission meetings. And thank you again for having us. So I'm going to try and not read this word for word, and I'm not the best person doing presentations, and it won't be as entertaining as some of our last ones that we've done. So just a few things about the Pembroke Area Airport. We serve most of the county of Renfrew, what we'd be known as the airport basically in the upper Ottawa Valley. We are the only certified airport between Carp and North Bay. That's very important, that being a certified airport brings a whole another level of safety to an airport. There's lots of insurance companies that prefer that somebody that's flying land at a certified airport rather than a registered airport. So that's huge for us. We are jointly owned by 6 municipalities throughout the upper Ottawa Valley. We're a critical hub for transportation in Renfrew County. We support medevac operations, military exercises, business aviation, tourism, and more. The airport operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have 4 employees, 2 full-time, 2 part-time. We have a 5,000-foot runway, which is capable of handling numerous styles of aircraft. So what are we looking ahead to in 2025? We have set some goals, okay, and one being helping with the lobbying effort of AMCO, who are lobbying the provincial government to come up with a airport capital assistance program. The federal government today offers one, but the only way you can opt into that program is to have regularly scheduled service, something that we do not. The provincial one that they're lobbying the province on today will look at those airports that don't have regularly scheduled service. So that's huge in order to get that kind of program through the province. So we're also going to look at providing regularly quarterly updates to all stakeholders, and we're going to increase our online engagement and outreach. So some of the highlights for 2024, We hosted the Ministry of Natural Resources fish stocking program last May, and we actually just found out today that it's going to happen again possibly next week. So what happens is the ministry will bring fish from hatcheries down to the airport. They're loaded on a helicopter and taken to local lakes, and those lakes are stocked. So Airborne Petawawa commenced their operations in 2024, and they continue. They just opened again this past weekend and are seeing huge success in the skydiving operation. Bearskin Airline continues to do their charter, where they pick up all over the province of Ontario and take kids down to southern Ontario. So they come in on a Monday, pick the kids up, and then on Friday bring them back so they're able to attend school. We had the construction of a new hangar that was been completed in 2024. Some of our numbers for 2024, we had 3,200 aircraft movements. Communities served was the entire county of Renfrew in one way or another. Emergency response, there was 22 medevac flights that were supported. And of course, again, the runway availability 24/7. In our fundraising, we have raised $13,856, and we have an annual budget of $750,000. So of that $13,856, that funding was raised for Project Runway, and to date, we're at approximately $250,000 raised towards our goal of $1.25 million to repave the runway. So some of the upgrades and improvements. So we're always very happy to get equipment from some of the local municipalities, and this year we were able to upgrade our plow truck and a loader from one of the local municipalities. We also purchased a new ride-on grass cutter for the grounds and maintenance, which probably doesn't seem that big of a deal to buy a lawnmower, but when we have a little over 500 acres of property, of a lot of that covered with grass, to have a new wheeled lawnmower that Steve doesn't have to fix every time he's done using it is actually huge for us. Just some of the DND highlights. We provide helicopter fuel support for Garrison Petawawa throughout the year during system outages, and it seems like they're leaning on us a little bit more these days, and I think that goes back to last year when we were able to supply them fuel over about a 6 to 8 week period where their whole fuel farm was down. So they seem to be using us more and more, and I think it stems from that they realize that we have the capability to be able to service them. We've supported multiple parachuting courses and field exercises. And just a tidbit for information, 1/3 of all of our revenues come from the Garrison Petawawa. So it's huge. Just one little thing about local community impact. We have a local doctor who flies in here out of Toronto, comes in here and goes to the Barry's Bay and Deep River Hospital to assist them in their emergency departments. So that's basically a snapshot of where we are and what's happened in 2024. It doesn't maybe seem like a lot. What we're not talking about here is the actual day-to-day operation of the facility, which is the huge, big part of this. To run this facility with 4 employees, keep the runways, taxiways plowed all winter, swept off, grass cut. All the maintenance of all of our equipment is done in-house. So I'll finish it there, and hopefully if anybody has any questions, we'll be able to answer them for you. I know the budget is on your agenda today, so if anybody has any questions of that, maybe we could facilitate the answers to that. So turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. I only have one question that I thought of right away before I open it up to council. Do we know exactly which lakes those fish are going in?
To be honest with you, they do give us a list.
Good,
Yeah,
and you should be accepting donations.
Yes.
For access to that list.
Yeah.
Yes, good. I joke. I mean, it's just one of the many important things that the airport does in support of our community. I recognize that, but
It's a pretty neat thing. I took my 2 grandsons to it last year, and the guys from the ministry are fantastic. They let the kids get right in, and they were bringing them out in their hands and putting them in pails and looking at them, and they explain everything that they're going to do. You can stand and watch them load it right into the helicopter. It's pretty neat to see. Yeah.
awesome. Good. Well, with that, I'll open it up. Is there any comments or questions from members of council? Yes, Councillor Moore.
Just a comment. You only touched on air ambulance. Could you and broaden that just for our listeners at home, actually why we can service them and why it's important for us to be there?
Yeah, so a lot of people think first off that air ambulance is only helicopters, okay, which is false. About half of their fleet are fixed wing, so therefore they do need an airport to land at. And then somebody else will say, well, there's lots of heliports around, so the helicopters can basically land anywhere. They can land on the highway, which is 100% true. But the issue is when they arrive somewhere, and they could be on their way from Sudbury to Toronto and get diverted to Pembroke in order to pick somebody up. They need to have a minimum amount of fuel, A, on their aircraft in order to move on. So they use us then for fueling. Number 2, if the weather is inclement, and we know what the weather is like in the area, and they can't land at the heliport, they can land at the airport. There's lots of room for them to land. Also, if a pilot hasn't landed at night at one of the hospital heliports in over, I believe it's 3 months, they're not allowed to go into a heliport at a hospital because there's this black hole effect that if you're not used to landing there, so then they have to go to the airport. Now, that being said, if somebody is needing to go from the hospital to the airport, to Ottawa, Toronto, wherever they may be going, every one of the ambulance have access to the runway. So there's a keypad that they have the code, they can open the gate, they can drive in right up to the plane or the helicopter, onload or offload a patient. So it works, it's a really, really good system.
Just one other comment. Just to reiterate what we say every year when we have visitors like this, it's utmost important that we support this airport and that we keep it there, if not for air ambulance, but also for firefighting as well. In the springtime, it can be utilely used. This spring being an exception, it's touch wood. It hasn't been needed, but there's other seasons when it is needed for firefighting, so they can land and fuel, etc. So it's very important that we as a council support this airport. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our presenter, Al. I'm just wondering, further to Councillor Moore's question about medevac, do you have some instances of patients being transported from, say, other countries to this area and have the availability to land at the airport?
Absolutely, happens every year. That during snowbird season, there's 1 or 2 wind up being brought back, and they get brought back to their home airport, home hospital, and then go for whatever treatment they need from there. But yeah, it happens every year. I think it was last year we had an aircraft in that was from the Bahamas. And the crew came in then and after the patient was offloaded, had some snacks and water that the staff supplied for them, said how wonderful the airport was there, and they were getting back on the plane and heading back to the Bahamas. So.
With fuel?
They took on fuel, yes. Yeah, most of them do, yeah.
Yeah, you can fly on one way.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions? Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Alan, for the presentation. I see that there's 17 communities served. Just wondering, are they served in a different capacity than the supporting municipalities? I know there's 6 supporting municipalities, I think I read.
So what we mean by being served is at some point through the year, somebody's either flown into the airport to do business in that area or came in for some reason to go to that municipality. So it could be any number of things. It could be Walmart fly in and they will come in and they will go to the Pembroke store, but they will also go to the Renfrew store and do what they need to do and leave. And there's other businesses around like that where corporate office will fly in to do something at one of the stores in their area and then get back in and fly out. Could be somebody in real estate coming up here to look at a subdivision in a certain municipality. I know Laurentian Valley, we have a developer and he's on a regular basis flying in and out to take care of a subdivision that is going to get going this year in Laurentian Valley. So they love it, that they can, and I always say that back when the fiberboard plant started in Laurentian Valley, I talked to one of the executives there and he said, you know, this is great. He said, I can get up in the morning, have my coffee with the kids, be cursing and swearing in traffic going to the airport, get on our corporate jet, come up here, do my business, fly back home, be cursing and swearing in traffic going back home to see my wife and kids at night. So he said it's amazing to have that kind of a facility to be able to get in and out like that.
Thank you. And just last question. So do you need to be a member of one of the supporting municipalities in order to, I don't know what you call it, have a hangar or use the facility on a private basis to actually house an aircraft there?
No, so anybody can house an aircraft, anybody could have a hangar there, and we operate like a business. So if you're coming in, the land, for us, our land is all leased, we don't sell land. So that one hangar that was built in 2024, that person leases the land from us, puts his hangar up and stores his plane in it. And the good part about that is if the plane's there, then when he's going to fly it, he needs fuel. Well, we're there for the fuel, and fuel is the biggest source of income for the airport.
Great, thank you.
Good. Just if we have that schedule of when that developer comes in,
We never know when he's coming in.
we would just send a Whitewater vehicle there.
Yeah,
to pick him up.
exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Councillor Tabbert, you had a question.
Yes, just very minor here. As I listen to what you talk about, you say that you serve 17 municipalities. Which one aren't you serving? Because there's 17 municipalities in Renfrew County, but what about Pembroke? So you would technically serve 18.
So technically 18, yeah. You're correct.
I think you should
yeah.
update that for
We will.
for future. And the other question I have though is why aren't all the other municipalities involved in this?
Good question. Okay, we have asked that in the past, and it was always these 6 municipalities. Okay, with amalgamation, it grew a little bit, especially in this municipality, because only half of the municipality was actually involved, and the powers that be at the time decided that they would put the entire municipality into the Airport Commission. We haven't really gone out and tried to recruit some of those municipalities to come on board. We've always kind of hoped that they would see the benefit in it, and they're in the same boat as all of us, right? It's all dollars and cents, and they would, if they came on, then they would have to pay to be part of it, but they are enjoying the benefits of it. And we have to realize with the airport that, so firefighting, search and rescue, you name it, any of those provincial federal services that need the airport to operate in this area, if there's no airport, okay, we're still going to pay that. They're still going to pay that in our federal and provincial taxes to have that service, but we're not going to get the kind of service we're getting today because the airport is right here.
Any other questions from members of council? Okay, if I could indulge council, if we could take, just because I don't want our guests to have to, if they want to stay around for the subsequent agenda item on the budget, I'd like to propose that we just bring forward the budgeted numbers that are part of the treasurer's presentation for later. We'll just quickly see if Mr. Wren wants to give us an overview, and if there's any questions, and sorry, an overview is the total numbers. I don't have to go line by line. See if there's any questions. And I know you probably can't see that if you're a guest, but essentially we're talking about $681,000 in expenses, $681,000 in revenues, and then the next slide would show the distribution of those expenses across the member municipalities, of which Whitewater is 15%. So Mr. Wren, you want to throw any other comments in there and see if we can solicit any questions
So
from
I'll
members?
just reiterate that the biggest parts of our revenue stream are fueling and the Department of National Defense. And the expenses are there. It's regular, basically day-to-day expenses. We always do use our reserves in order to wind up coming to a zero surplus or deficit when we're budgeting. Way back when the federal government decided to get out of local airports, we were giving $400,000, which we put in a reserve, which we used so that we didn't have to come back and forth to the municipalities if we needed more money. So that's why we only come once a year. I will note that in the apportionment, we're asking for a 5% increase in the municipal levy, but we have to realize that that's not a 5% increase in our budget. That represents like about a 1% increase in on our budget. So we're every year we're managing to increase our revenues to keep up with inflation, and we haven't asked for any more than that 5%. And it represents only 1% of our budget. So if you were comparing that to a roads department, it'd be the roads department asking for a 1% increase.
Excellent, good.
So I believe it's about, Curtis, about $800 increase from last year.
Good, and I'm getting a nod from the treasurer.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll have time to debate this. That's not the intent of this, but just if you had questions that we have the experts here. I was hoping if you had any questions about the numbers, the proportionments, this would be the opportunity to corner Mr. Wren.
And just so that everybody knows how the apportionment works, okay, and years ago when we had the agreement, it was decided that we would go on total assessment. So each year, those numbers can fluctuate a little bit as to the percentage of ownership. It's based on what the assessment of each municipality are to give you your percentage ownership in the airport.
Excellent. Councillor Olmsted, you had a question?
Yeah, am I okay to ask specific questions on the numbers in the budget? Sure.
Yes.
Okay with that? Just the loan repayment, just wondering what that loan was.
So how many years ago now? 4 years ago, we decided that we were going to put up our own hangar, another hangar, okay? So we have two on site. Of course, we didn't have the money to build it. So we went to Infrastructure Ontario, okay, to borrow the money, and we were approved through Infrastructure Ontario, but because we were not a municipality, our interest rate was double what a municipality would be. So I knew somebody on Laurentian Valley Council, okay, who convinced Laurentian Valley to borrow the money on our behalf. So the repayment goes to Laurentian Valley, and it's over 20 years.
Great. That was my question, really.
Yep.
Was who is it to?
Yeah, it's to Laurentian Valley, but
Infrastructure Ontario.
Infrastructure Ontario is where the loan is.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Excellent.
Okay.
Well, with that, I think that concludes. You're free to go, but thank you so much for taking the time, not only to share the information about the airport with us, but with the public. This will be recorded. There could be members of the community that have questions, and we'll gladly forward them to Councillor Moore, our representative on the Pembroke Airport Commission. So
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much for your time. We appreciate it.
Excellent. Have a great day.
Take care. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Our next presentation is our first quarter administrative report, and we have a recommendation before us that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive the 2025 first quarter administrative report for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Bell. And I'm going to turn this over to the CAO to orchestrate.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I'll speak firstly with respect to the message from the CAO. So we continue as staff to make significant strides in our asset management plan. The asset management is a key focus identified in the township strategic plan, 10-year strategic plan. This current council's council strategic direction, which was developed in the early part of 2023, and the 2025 departmental work plan. So this initiative is further supported, and as council will have seen in the first quarter, several procurements of consulting services to support building condition assessments, structural reviews, our water wastewater rate study, and amendments forthcoming to the strategic policies. So we continue to stride forward with respect to asset management, which will become a crucial guiding document in policy development and decision making. Second point to be made here is I just want to formally recognize and acknowledge the exceptional capabilities of our staff, and that is in responding to emergencies and complex situations. So their unwavering dedication and expertise are evident in responding to increased number of fires and their handling of challenging incidents, including but not limited to the boil water advisory on January 2nd, and also continuing to manage our significant snow events. So just want to thank staff for their commitment in providing crucial services to our community, often at the expense of personal time, and it is deeply appreciated. So I just highlight two other experiences that I had, and I think I'm going to try to, as these come in, to share them through the message from the CAO. The first one is an experience that I had with respect to recognizing and reflecting on what our community could be if everybody was mindful and considerate. So while I was jogging one day, a senior gentleman slowed and moved over to give me space to run. Other vehicles sped by me and didn't provide any adjustments. And it's the four-finger wave that's not noted in there. He also waved to me, so it gave me the momentum to continue to push forward, and I just wanted to recognize that. And then the second experience was what I heard from an experience of an individual who attended the Whitewater Region Community Health Fair. So this health fair is one that is held with primarily with the Whitewater seniors, and the gentleman expressed that his purpose for attending was solely to meet other people. And it's interesting to see how these events are very important to our community and the individuals within it, and it fosters that connection and that warmth and kindness of our community. So just wanted to express and recognize those two experiences. So what I'll do is I'll pass it over to our planner, economic development officer, Alex Pisklavich, to commence and summarize sort of the planning EDO stuff for community development.
Great,
Thanks, Alex.
thank you. By the numbers, so in the building department in Q1, the building department received 24 building permit applications and 8 septic permit applications. This is down from the previous year. We think it might be possibly due to the weather this spring, as well as the economic situation. In terms of planning and economic development, we received 3 zoning bylaw amendment applications, 13 consent applications, and 2 minor variance applications. And we heard at the Committee of Adjustment or at Council 3 zoning bylaw amendments, 7 consent applications, and 2 minor variances. In terms of communication in Q1, the Facebook page received a total of 80,027 unique visits to view the 65 posts that were made. So there was 65 posts, and in total 80,000 people viewed them. The best performing post, which was reviewed by over 22,000 people, was a road closure notice for Snake River Line and Zion Line. For Instagram, we had a total of 6,196 post views. In terms of our work plan and the strategic plan progress, some of the highlights included that we awarded the tender to Kruger Signs to produce the seasonal village banners. So that's winter and summer banners. We have started an internal planning group for the preliminary discussions and planning related to this year's Taste of the Valley. In terms of key activities, we've had a few new people join the Community Development Department. So Gord Rowlands joined as a new building inspector and plans examiner. And then we've had Riley La Riviere come on board as our summer student, and he is an architectural technician. He's attending the architectural technician program at Algonquin, so he'll be with us for the summer. We also wanted to pass along the news that the community development coordinator was successful in a grant application that she made to the Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation, which was used to procure 2 kiosks for the kiosk booth, or pardon me, for the tourist booth. And the kiosks will be used to promote the township's soon-to-be launched tourism website, which leads me to the look ahead. So we are, as I just mentioned, going to be launching the tourism website and distributing the activity guide and brochures to the tourist booths throughout the county. And we are also looking forward to having the the banners installed in Cobden, Beachburg, Foresters Falls, Haley Station, and La Paz. And we also are looking forward to continuing to work with Enterprise Renfrew County in planning the small business event for Small Business Week. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks so much, Planner Pisklavich. I'll turn it over through the mayor to council if there's any questions.
Any questions or comments on this section? Yeah, Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the planner, I'm just noticing that the banners for Cobden, Beachburg, Forster Falls, Haley Station, La Paz, would there be a plan in the future for Westmeath?
That would be an error.
Sorry.
Yes, there is a plan in the present moment for Westmeath, and it will be included. So please amend my previous statement to add the word Westmeath after La Paz. Thank you.
Excellent. Good recovery. Any other questions? Good. I'm just going to recognize, I hadn't expected it. The best performing post came out of Public Works with a road closure. I can't believe it, but good. I'm glad people are tracking the road closures. Excellent. Good. Back over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'll just, as council will be aware through email correspondence, Alex Pisklavich, our planner, his last day of employment with the township will be next Wednesday, unfortunately. So just want to thank Alex for his time and commitment on behalf of council and staff. Thanks so much, Alex, for your tenure with the township. Appreciate it. And then just moving over to community services, and I will pass it over to our manager of community services, Stephanie Plebin. Thanks so much.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So just by the numbers, we're starting off with community services at the arena, and public skating hours were between 12 and 14 hours a month, with highest participation during our public skate and lower numbers during our parent and tot skate, which I think the parent and tots and senior skates appreciate. The primetime use in the Cobden Arena was 68% over Q1, and we corrected the Q4 results from 70 to 76%, which I believe were reported on the last quarterly report at 80. The Cobden Arena upstairs rentals, the total hours were at 151 hours. And I also wanted to highlight the Whitewater seniors for Q1. The meals and the frozen meals and the programs that are being put out through that are amazing to see those numbers total, and going into the next quarter we'll do a year over year so that you can see what they were the last quarter. As Ivan mentioned, the Seniors Health Fair was a successful run program. We did receive funding through OACAO. We've applied for a grant to fund that, and that's where the funding for that came from, and staff worked with community partners to make that happen, so that was a great partnership going forward. And then we just also noted some of the programs that are going on there with the handyman services, transportation, and volunteer drivers, and shopping and errand appointments that are now being added to our list of things that all of our volunteers are driving for. Work plan and strategic plan, we have an RFP for a structural assessment, which has been awarded. We have purchased tables and chairs for the Cobden Arena, and that is still ongoing. We're purchasing them as we're removing some of the old ones, so it's kind of a slow go. We have bookings for the Foresters Falls Senior Center, which are now being booked online through our booking system. And the accessible picnic tables, RFP is out right now, even though it says Q2. And our ice season meeting is in the next couple weeks in the month of May. We're going to meet with all of our user groups. We also awarded our Whitewater Community Recreation Grant in Q2. Based on all the applications received. And then the key activities, this is a long list, I don't want to go through them all at all, but just to give you an overview of all of the things and a couple highlights. Our staff have been instrumental in updating the Cobden Arena with the close of the ice season and some of the new things that are being done there. I put a note on here about the Jumpstart grant. We'll see a report following that. And without our staff in the building, we wouldn't be able to do these things that we're doing. In addition to that, we've instituted monthly safety quizzes for our staff, and some of the topics are working alone or working with ammonia and different things like that. So we're instituting that on a regular basis to support them. And then our seniors active living grant funding was put forward. We're still waiting on confirmation of that. Every year we have to apply. We just wait for the, okay, you're good. It's a 5-year agreement that we have. And then our lending hub use was obviously down for the winter, but we'll be opening that back up very shortly for spring and summer. And we're hoping for June that it opens up. I did want to also mention the Grand Pals program, which I know Councillor Tabbert and Councillor Moore are volunteering in, and just to say that was another grant opportunity that we received funding for, and we have seniors going into our local school, and we're hoping that program gets copied into other schools going forward, but we'll see where that goes. It was a very successful program. And then looking ahead, we've got a partnership to design a new book tree at the township office, and I'm waiting for feedback on the Opeongo High School to be able to complete that. And then you'll see some more spring cleaning. We've got the arena boards cleaned in the Cobden Arena, and an RFP will be out shortly for the canteen for the 2025-2026 season. And that's it.
And back through you, the Mayor, for any questions?
Members of Council, any questions or comments for Manager of Community Services? Councillor Moore.
Just a comment for those who may be listening and don't know particularly what all is going on in our municipality. So if they read this package, they'll get a better idea of what goes on behind the scenes that they may not know about and maybe that they might be interested in. So they're only an email or a phone call away, and there'll be lots of people to answer their questions if they look at some of these and would like more information. So just a heads up for anybody who might be interested.
Excellent, thank you. Any other comments? I'm going to throw one at you. For looking ahead, I received a few questions from the public about boat launch in Westmeath as a budget item. Can you offer any insights into where that is proceeding?
I'm waiting on communication from a company out of Ottawa, and when I have more information, I will share. As of right now, we're just looking at a sounding survey.
Perfect. Good. Any other comments or questions? Excellent. We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much. And what I find interesting is my last conversation with Manager Plebin was last week, and there's already discussions about meeting with user groups for the arenas for 2025-2026 season. So while you think the ice season's over, it's already starting for the subsequent year. So it's just a revolving service delivery. So over to our Treasurer, Curtis McGonigal, for corporate services. Thanks.
Thank you. And I apologize, my buying of numbers is a lot of numbers. So property taxation, we'll look at that first. So the interim billing for 2025, the first billing of the year, went out in February, first week. There was 5,078 bills sent out in the mail. Total charges was $6,906,000. So knowing the first billing is 50% of last year's taxation, and then we split that total billing amount into 2 installments, with the first one being due in February and the second one due in April. That's why it's $3,453,423, which would be due in April. So at the end of March 31st, which would include the first installment that occurred in February, there was $1.8 million still outstanding of taxation. But that's made up of $568,000 is the 2025 billing, the new billing that had just got sent out, $657,000, which is 2024 billing and interest, $369,000 is 2023's billing and interest, and $268,000 is 2022 and prior. I'll make a note on this portion that whenever we do collection letters for 2023 and prior, we've changed, or we're fully following policy this year and have moved to the 2+ year application for where we can actually go towards tax arrears collection and property sale for tax sale. So both the $369,000 and $268,000 properties that are included in those two amounts were sent letters. There was 118 letters set out this year. So far in this quarter, the quarter we're currently in, we've received a little over $100,000 already from those letters being sent out. So there's definitely gains being seen there, and if you look at the graph, it does trend up, that more was outstanding this February and March than prior years. But looking at it now in May, I'm hoping to see a below last year's amount trending. So I'm thinking the Q2 report will be a much more accurate representation, and I'm hoping to see both those numbers in a more realistic area. So under the utility billing, 95,572 of utilities was outstanding. So that is the first billing that occurred in March. So it would have been due March 31st as the first billing for the period January to February. So per our policy, any balances that are left outstanding before that final billing, so up to the end of February 28th, any of the amounts that are not paid that were for 2024's water billing will get transferred to taxation. So in total, 103 accounts were transferred with a total balance of $179,000. So just as a point of reference, we billed 956 clients or customers out for bills, and 103 of those 956 were unpaid, or a portion were unpaid that had to be transferred at year end that no payment was made. That 179,000 is included in that balance you see for the 2025 billing, the 568,000. That's part of that total. In development charges, $6,000 was received, which is 2 homes. There was no water, no wastewater services collection. Our general budget shows a $1.8 million deficit. No point of alarm. The reason that shows that way is because we don't recognize revenue until the August billing for taxation comes out. It sits as a accounts receivable area until that point in time, and then it transfers over to the actual revenue whenever we do the final billing. Transfers to reserves occur only at year end, and we have started receiving funds from CCBF and OCIF for the capital projects that were included in the budget. But they are not allocated to revenue until year-end procedures are done. So the water budget is showing a $69,000 surplus, because in this scenario, we actually record the revenue as it is received. It's kind of an opposite thing to taxation. As we bill, they're automatically recorded as revenue. So 1/6 of the water and wastewater billings were sent out, and then no transfers again have been received yet. So we're under the work plan strategic plan process. We're currently reviewing policies and procedures to update as necessary. As the CIO noted, we're working on the asset management plan to meet the upcoming July 1st, 2025 deadline, with the award of Dillon Consulting to assist with the creation of that policy, along with myself and the manager of public works going through the actual asset inventory list and creating that piece. We're working on multi-year budgeting to tie into that asset management piece, because the financial plan is required for those capital items. And then key activities, as I noted, the interim tax bill has been processed. First utility bill for 2025 and last utility bill for 2024 were sent out. Our iCity Online software, I'm sure all of you have seen the email sent out, and it's now on the main page of our website where people can actually go on, click on the link, go into iCity Online, and get full access to their property tax account, water account, and wastewater account, and their accounts receivable. We are working currently on actually being able to integrate a payment processing system right into there, so they will actually be able to go right from their account, pay bill, hit credit card, pay the bill, and it'll all get transferred to us. It'll all fill, so it won't be required where they have to type in the roll number. They won't have to do anything. They just go through the next process, and it's completed. The other upside we're looking at with this is as soon as people go on and register, they can get their bills via email instead of by mail. So the township will no longer be required, and you'll actually see it in the coming report for taxation tax rates, is that the bylaw has been amended this year to not only allow us to mail out bills to people. The Municipal Act allows us to also electronically send them, but it's never been noted in our bylaw. Now we'll be able to actually be able to electronically send these bills to them. So it'll actually save us on postage, envelopes, printing, the whole, because it'll actually go as an electronic bill. They can still request a paper bill from us, but the automatic feature will be an electronic version, so hopefully saving the expense of that, which we then levy onto the taxpayer. So I'm hoping it will be an all-around taxation savings. We did a review of the property tax billing and collection policy, which was brought to council. The new policy for Section 357s was brought to council. I'm currently working on the 2024 fiscal year end and reconciliations, which I hope to bring before the council recess for the summer, bring to council. And then I've just completed the OCIF and CCPF consulting or grant reportings for the 2024 year end and for the interim reports for the 2025 year. So look ahead. We're continuing with the asset management side, and we're working on developing policies for long-term debt and for reserve policies. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks so much. And through you, the mayor, again, to council, if there's any questions.
Thank you for all of those numbers. Is there any questions from members of council on these numbers? Councillor Tabbert.
With the launch of this city eyeline or whatever, if we get billing already, like what do you call it, automatic billing? Payment? We don't have to change it or anything, right?
No, there's nothing needed to change there. This is just for the setup that you can actually access and see your bill online, and you would actually be able to see the transactions on your account. So as a caveat to this, if you have pre-authorized payment plan and you want to sign up electronically, and I'd encourage everybody to do that who has the pre-authorized payment plan, they can actually see the payment that was withdrawn from their account get applied to their account. So they'll actually be able to see the correlation between the two, and it just gives that other part. Because most people who apply for the pre-authorized payment monthly plan don't really want to see that piece of paper come in the mail because they don't need it. That's why the whole thing is electronic and everything flows through, and they can follow through with their bank and that side. Same thing with installments. It's still processed through. And there's a feature that you can either get the bill directly emailed to you or just to get a notification in the portal, and then you go into the portal to get it. So if you just want it emailed to you, you don't even have to go log into the portal again. I will point out that I didn't mention this at the start off, is that in order to get onto this system, you just need your last tax bill that was sent out in February. It has a little PIN number on it. So you need your roll number and your PIN, and that's all you need. Once you go onto the website and click onto it, you need those two numbers, enter them in. If anybody's ever done the MPAC login, very similar setup. You go through, you need your PIN number and your roll number, goes through the process, you create your own unique username and password, and you're done. And you can continue to look on that forever.
Good. Councillor Moore.
Just in keeping with that, I'm a paper person, so I like to print everything that I think I need. Right now, our taxes are on green paper, and our water bills, wastewater, are on purple, or mauve, whatever you call that. In order to print that, it takes a lot of ink. So will this on the computer be actually on white paper, so we don't have that extra ink cost at home?
Yeah, so we use green paper and pink paper here. The actual bill is white. Like if we were to reprint the bills, they would be white. And yes, it's coming through we actually reviewed with them, and it prints the letter size. So it's automatic to print that size. It doesn't try to print a legal page. It splits the two, splits your stubs and the top of your bill for your taxation, so that it automatically fits to a letter size. You don't need to go through converting your printer and all the other stuff to get that to work. We went through that already.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Olmsted.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I'm not going to lie, you may have already covered this, but I was reading through the report, so I may have missed it. But back to the property taxes receivable, with the exception of January, I see a pretty disturbing trend over 23, 24, and 25 at an increasing rate. Do you anticipate that trend to continue?
Personally, I don't. So the one point to note is 23 was, the February 2023 is prior to myself starting here. And prior to that, PILs were not included in these balances. So whenever I started, I added them back in. They were tracked separately from the amounts that are noted here. So the 23, 24 would probably actually be pretty close to be about the same, because these governments come from the province and from the federal government, not always on time. It's kind of on their own schedule. So it would show differently there. The February amount, I've started digging into to try and figure why it's higher. Part of that is, like what I noted before, is there's 179,000 that got added into into taxation from water, and that occurred in February at the end of the month. So that makes an artificial spike there, because we're adding that in from the water. Prior year, it was actually done in March, so that's where this little stagger can come from. We're trying to work through to make this graph show everything more timely. So some of the times it doesn't look as pretty as what I'd like it to, just because of a timing issue. But I think it's still advantageous to give this as a representation of where we're kind of going to show. I'm hoping shortly it'll start to track down as soon as we get August as 4 years of 24, 25, 26. August on, or full year on, it should be a very accurate representation, and I'm hoping it's a trending down situation.
Okay, if I may, one more. So is this graph now clean in that any properties that we never had hope of accepting property taxes, receiving property taxes, I think Haley's, for instance, Cremasco, et cetera, I know for years those were in the numbers, but we weren't going to receive anything anyway. So do you know, is all that kind of cleaned out of these graphs now?
No, so they're still included in there, and that's part of like the 2023 billing and prior, 2022 billing and prior. Those properties are the ones that are potentially already started in the process for tax sale. So they'll be included in here until we actually go through the process of tax sale. And then the balances for each applicable year will come out at that point in time. Because they are technically still receivable, and as the municipality, we put a priority lien on these properties, we are going to get our money back one way or another, either through the tax sale or the actual owner paying the bill at that point in time. So we don't want to remove them from here to artificially show a lower number versus what's actually on the books. Should we come to a situation where a said property has too much taxation, I'll bring a report at that point in time to council to actually write off taxation. I'm looking at the current accounts now. I don't foresee that in the foreseeable future, but that is the method that we'd have to go through.
Great, thank you.
I'm just going to interject, just if we get to a point where we don't think we're going to be able to collect, whether it's the value of the taxes unpaid exceeds the value of the property in that circumstance, or a Haley situation where the organization who took over the property didn't pay the taxes that were owed, I just want to make sure that we consider the allowance for doubtful accounts, that we're not spending revenue we're not going to get. And we put that aside and force it to shrink our in-year budget to reflect that doubtful collection. Is that your interpretation?
That's exactly right. And at this point in time, I don't foresee any coming to fruition or to any putting that type of risk on us at this point in time. Because any of the properties that we're currently pushing towards a tax sale, with the so much increase in property values, the list price we'd have to ask for these companies businesses or properties as tender amounts are so minimal that I can see multi-bids on all properties due to the fact that they're getting quite a discount, because we do not need to ask market price. We only need to ask the amount of money to cover our taxation or any crown loans.
Good. That doesn't trigger anything else with Councillor Olmsted?
100% it does, but I think I'll take that offline
Perfect.
with Curtis. And we didn't rehearse any of that. Thank you very much. That was a very detailed answer. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Yes, Councillor Moore.
Just one, and I should have tweaked my memory. So when some of these back bills for water for 1-2 years, et cetera, that got put on the taxes, what if there's renters in there? Is that up to the owner of the property to collect that for us, or how does that work?
So there's kind of two parts to that. One part is we don't ever, per our policy, we don't let anything go back 1 or 2 years. It's always the prior year. So we moved the same kind of billing in 2024 for 2023, same type of thing. We don't let it go back, similar to taxation where we go back. We don't do that for water. The other side is we don't actually bill to tenants. All of our bills are sent to the registered owner. So they already know what is owing. It is up to them. If they want their tenants to pay for that, they should just be forwarding the bill off to or adding that onto their rent side, because we are flat rate billing here. Everybody knows what our rate is for the entire year. They can just add it into their rent side. So that's what's set off that side. So all the owners of the buildings or of the properties are the ones who receive the bills. It's not like they don't know what is outstanding. It's their choice if they want to send it to tenants. I've been in contact with multiple municipalities that have done it both ways, billing tenants and not, and most come back and say the same thing I was always of the assumption of, is that tracking tenants is a clerical nightmare, because people can move in for a month, move out for a month, then all of a sudden a water bill shows up with a penalty and you're stuck in this limbo area of, well, it's not my bill, it was this person's bill, and trying to prorate things. It's best just to stay out of that and send directly to the owner and let them deal with that side. Because they are the owner of the property, it is their responsibility, and the fact that we can add that to the taxation and put a lien on their property for it, it's best to keep it that way, and it keeps our hands out of the tenant situation.
Understand. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other comments from members of council? I'm just going to jump in because the property taxation and the utility billing numbers that you presented, and I know you gave Councillor Olmsted some great feedback on that pattern that is displayed in this chart, but it is concerning. And I'm really looking at this as one of the key indicators of our affordability and what other factors might be happening in the community, at least from a numbers perspective. When I look at the utility billing, 103 accounts represents a large portion from an instinctive perspective here that are attached to the water and wastewater system. So I am a little bit concerned, especially when I can't compare it to 2023 numbers. So what I was hoping, rather than get into it today, is that can we ask you and the lead for finance to just look at these offline, and if needed, come back to council with a report, or if not needed, a verbal update, whatever, just to make sure that we are tracking it, and if there's any key deductions, it comes back to council. Is that fair to ask? Councillor Olmsted's nodding, Treasurer's nodding, CAO's happy. Okay. Good. With that, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much. Next is Fire Services to our Fire Chief, Jonathan McLaren. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So Q1 started off with a bang for us, 2 structure fires and a serious MVC on New Year's Day. Slowed down a little after that with 32 calls for service, 6 being fires, 10 MVCs, and 1 VSA. And that's down a little bit from 2024, where we had 35 calls. We issued tenders for the replacement of 9851, as well as a breathing air compressor, much of which is funded through the fire protection grant. I'll speak to that a little bit later. Work continues on both the Fire Smart and fire protection grants that we were successful in receiving last year. And we're working on transitioning to a new records management system, and that'll be taking place throughout 2025. Some of the key activities, we held a promotional process to fill the vacancy created by the retirement of Captain Rook Rattan. Lieutenant Joel Bridges was promoted to captain, Lieutenant John Malcolm to acting captain, and firefighter Shannon Spurl promoted to lieutenant, all out of Station 1, Haley Station. Lieutenant Wade Lummox retired on March 5th after 28 years of service with the Beachburg and Whitewater Fire Departments. His enthusiasm and dedication will be missed by all of us that worked with him. Standard incident reports mandated by the Fire Marshal's Office were submitted for 2024. 13 new recruits were hired in December, starting their training in January, and they'll complete their Level 1 training later this fall. Firefighter Level 2 training is taking place as well, with it wrapping up in June, and officer training wrapped up last week with testing on Saturday. Annual ladder testing was completed in the first quarter, and this ensures our ground ladders are safe for the rigors of firefighting. Looking ahead, completion of the Officer 1 course, annual SCBA flow testing scheduled for April. This is required every year. Our Alarm for Life program was due to take place in May. It still will. It's just been pushed back a little bit as we deal with some of the flood issues. And annual fire pump testing will take place in May as well. Thank you.
Way to go. Thank you. Questions from council? Yeah, Councillor Bell.
Through you, Mayor, just wondering on the look ahead portion, if there was any update on the motion with the BLS first response, if we had any update on that, or whether that's something I should talk to you offline about.
The intent is to have a report to council with the next meeting on the 17th.
If I could add just to the fire chief and to Councillor Bell who moved the motion, if there is we are seeking to connect with you just to give you an update. Yes, offline. Thanks so much.
Councillor Trem, you have your hand up? Yeah.
Yes, it's not really part of this report, but I have received a request about used or obsolete or smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors that have finished their life cycle. What is the best means of disposal?
Technically, the carbon monoxide detectors or alarms could just go to the landfill. There is a small amount of radiation in some smoke alarms, so they technically are considered hazardous waste and should be disposed of through hazardous waste disposal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Any other questions? Councillor Tappert.
I'm curious what a 9851 is.
9851 or any of the 98 numbers are representative of utility vehicles or rescue vehicles. So this is it's a half ton.
Thank you.
Perfect. Anything else from council? Yes, Councillor Moore.
Just wondering, through you, Mr. Mayor, if we would be, because we're in almost or are in flood stage, if we were getting an update during this meeting, maybe on announcements from yourself or the fire chief?
Yeah, I had planned to do one as part of the mayor's update.
Yeah, that'll work.
It's good. And we can connect offline, fire chief. Good. Anything else? No. And I just want to say 13 new recruits. Congratulations. That's excellent. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to the next one.
Great, thanks so much. And we'll move over to Public Works, starting with our Environmental Superintendent, Deanna Nicholson, followed by our Road Superintendent, Kyle Eady.
Thank you. I want to make one comment about the question about the fire smoke detectors. Just want to remind anybody, if they're putting anything in the waste bin, make sure you take the batteries out. And they will be actually noted on the underside of them if there are radiation containing, and those can go to the Renfrew Hazardous Waste Materials Depot during the summer. So, on that note, That's great. The second thing, though, onto Public Works. So following up on curbside solid waste collection, we actually saw a decrease. So there's a misprint in the report. So it's actually a 7% decrease in Q1 for curbside solid waste collected. We did see an increase in commingled, which is plastic, glass, metal, of 4%, up to 50.12 tons in Q1. Fiber was down minimally by about 2%. And notably, we actually saw quite a decrease in our landfill customers from 1,233 in 2024 down to 966 this year, which is likely representative of the wintry weather we saw this year. And so because of that, the tonnage of waste landfill decreased by also about 24%, down to 611 tons. And again, we had, it was definitely slow down there, especially during some of those really big winter storms. And as far as waste diverted, so that was also saw a pretty good waste. So waste that's diverted would be stuff like leaf and yard waste, wood, and even any recyclables collected, steel, that sort of thing. So that was down fairly dramatically, about 65%. And I think we would note that in 2024, we had quite a dry spring, and people got out pretty early cleaning out their gardens and stuff. So a good amount of that tonnage was to do with some significant amount of wood waste that came in 2024. So we didn't see that in 2025, so it was definitely less. Under our work plan, so the notable things from the Environmental Department was that the curbside collection contract with Miller has been extended for one more year until June 30th of 2025, and that is for the garbage portion, and the recycling collection is until that's for the recycling collection, and the garbage portion of the collection contract is until March 30th of 2026. We also undertook an LED lighting upgrade throughout a number of our buildings. So in Q1, 12 of the 18 buildings had those LED lighting projects completed. We had 4 more that have already been completed beyond that, and we have 2 small ones that are being finished off next week, which is great. And we installed once the project's finished, around 600 new LED lights. As we all know, the Beachburg drinking water distribution system experienced a significant water main break on January 1st. That led to the issuance of the boil water advisory, which was then rescinded on January 4th. And some other key activities that were undertaken is that we received the 2024 annual monitoring report for the Ross landfill, as well as the Westmeath landfill, and I'll be presenting on those a little bit later. And we also received the drinking water and wastewater reports for Cobden Haley Station, or Haley Town Site, and Beachburg, and those were prepared by Aqua. That's enough, and that's everything for the environmental.
Perfect, thank you. So a few numbers for us on the Public Works. Cold patch purchased, we purchased around 120 ton of cold patch, which you see is a 110% increase. Salt purchase had also a good increase due to the lots of winter events this year, at 106 increase with a total purchase of 586 ton for the first quarter. Winter events we've seen that involve sanding or plowing, we were 50 times compared to 23 in 2024. Snow removal events, like in the villages, we picked them up 14 times in Q1, and the winter maintenance fuel was 84% increase compared to last year. Under our work plan, the new 4X mulcher head was delivered, and it was installed on the grader 5. We've used it on a few roads around Westmeath now. The spring load restrictions went into effect on March 11th, but they will be removed on Monday, May 12th. Truck 28 continued to have multiple breakdowns this winter. It was only in service for 8 winter events in the first quarter. New floor grates and pans were installed at the Mindview Garage. Crews responded to the spring storm event on March 17th and 18th that resulted in 3 road closures. A portion of the Zion line was reconstructed near Gibson Lake as the road was washed out. And there was 8 gravel roads that required gravel and grading. Grading the gravel roads, we were able to get a few roads late March and then had to put a little pause on that due to more snow in April. But those are continuing in the second quarter. There was 9 stolen intersection signs in the first quarter that we have replaced. That's it for me.
Good, thanks so much, Superintendent. Just to the manager, if you want to supplement with anything, or we'll pass it over to the mayor for any questions.
No, you can. That's all good.
Thanks so much. Through you, the mayor.
Questions for our 2 superintendents? Yes, Councillor Bell.
This one's for Superintendent Nicholson. Just wondering, it wasn't mentioned on here, and maybe it's come up in previous reports that I've missed, but as far as the compactor, are we tracking its benefit, and in what ways are we seeing its benefits at the use of the landfill currently?
Yeah, so we just, I'll be presenting on and during my landfill report just coming forward, but the compactor has been in use since August, so we're just starting to see some use of it. And I said tentatively we have been able to start to see in some of the survey results that we're definitely making some progress, and it is showing that it's helpful. That being said, it's definitely early, and we've only had it out there for a handful of months, and the guys are also getting used to the operation of the machine and starting to dial that in. So we'll see over time how well it performs. But one thing to note is all the trending that's done at the landfill, when we talk about the number of years of life and that sort of thing, that's sort of trended out over 10 years average. So over time, we'll see those numbers change and shift. But I would say, yes, we're definitely starting to see some good improvement from the use of the compactor. You can see it just daily on how little the movement has been from the tipping face over the course of the last 6 months. So,
Other questions? Councillor Moore and then Councillor Trim.
Just one. Did I hear you mention May 12th as the cutoff for half loads?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be advertising that in a nice little picture on Facebook. Thank you.
Public Works is just trying to grab the most views out of any department. I can see what's happening here. Good. Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a question, but a comment. I've already referenced this to the superintendent and the manager of Public Works, and that is, and many people have commented to me, the wonderful job that has happened with the street sweeping this year. I don't know if it's finished, but where it has been done, just superb. It's something that I've been complaining about for a while, and I'm pleased to say that I'm not complaining this year. I'm hoping that this gets back to the company because it certainly is appreciated. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. Councillor Tabbert.
Yes, I'm just wondering, it says the TR-28 continued to have multiple breakdowns, and it was only in service for 8 of the 50. What is a TR-28? And to me, 8 of 50 sounds pretty low.
Yeah, it's not. It's a TR-28. Yes, TR-28 is one of our tandem dump trucks. That's just the truck number, truck 28. It's one of our internationals. I believe it's a 2015 or 16 off the top of my head. There's been multiple EGR engine related issues with it, and it's been in and out of the shop, our shop, and in Pembroke. And yeah, we're working to find a solution. We've called Alberta, we've called Rush, we've dealt with the head guy from Rush now, and so we're just trying to get some sort of feedback back at it, because they're throwing parts at it. Well, we can do the same thing here at a cheaper cost than paying their mechanics to do it. Our codes are showing EGR. We've replaced EGR valves, coolers, turbos, deep systems, lots. Lots of motor related issues. It's for emissions. Yeah. Yep.
If I can note, there will be a council report coming up on that vehicle.
Perfect. So just to note that a council report's going to come on that vehicle. Very interested. So it's a 10-year-old vehicle having some pretty substantial cost for maintenance. And fitting that our asset management plan is coming up. And this is just another reinforcement of that plan of how do we deal with our equipment and make sure that it's there for all of the events, not just 8. Councillor Tabbert.
Just to follow up, so is this harming our, well, it was harming our winter maintenance then, or we were able to compensate for it?
We were able to compensate for it. We have a spare truck 22, so we were able to keep things moving. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. No other questions? I've got 3. So, 2, because truck 28 was one of my questions. The first one is just about the cold patch. And I noticed, with disregarding last year, because it looks like it was an abnormal year, but in 2023, you're at 81 tons and you went to 120 tons this year in Q1. Is that simply the availability of the weather, or was it the state of the roads?
What it actually was is I purchased 4 loads before half loads came off, which equaled the 120 tons. That's what happened. I got them in before they started. Yeah.
Thank you for your frankness.
Yeah.
Good. That's exactly right. And the next one is just on the look ahead, and this may be more for the manager, but I know that we've gotten a lot of questions about the notice of motion that Councillor Moore put on about the Beachburg Watchorn Crescent Road, Watchorn Road Drive. Sorry, I drive on it every day and I don't even know the name. I don't see it listed under look ahead. Can we get some comment from staff on it, please?
Yes. Yeah, so the plan, there was a notice of motion back in November, and staff will be doing a road study, including a traffic count. Once the half loads come off the season, then determine one step is to determine the percentage of truck use of that, and the plan is to be a report back to council in late June.
Excellent. Good. So we'll just add it to our list of look ahead. No other comments? We'll switch it over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. And we're moving to the Office of the CAO, and I'll highlight a few things in lieu of our clerk, Carmen Miller, being absent. So Carmen continues to work together in the Office of the CAO on the election working group. So that's a working group that's been set up with partnering municipalities in Renfrew County, as well as the CEMC, so Certified Emergency Management staff. They also have a working group that are meeting monthly to try to update plans and policies so that we have a cohesive, we all have cohesive, if you will, plans that are similar in nature. So together with the election and the emergency management stuff, there was an RFP issued for alternate voting means. So that's with respect to engaging a company to support the 2026 election, and that is the alternative votings by sort of tabulators, by phone, by internet. So an RFP was issued, it's been closed, and it's being evaluated by the partnering municipalities on that RFP. So a report will come forth in the near future on that. And the township continues to manage flooding, and the municipal emergency control group continue to meet with respect to that. As we move into the sort of highlights from the CAO, so we did have the presentation and approval of the 2025 departmental work plan. So that's a pretty big effort from staff, which sort of summarizes key items that were approved in the budget, as well as highlighting commitments, if you will, for the out of the strategic direction and strategic plans. We've made amendments to our customer service and record retention policies to support staff in response to public incivility and unreasonable behaviors. And we've also sought out council's approval to be part of the LAS, Local Authority Services, Joint Municipal Service Corporation review. So that is progressing with some collection of information through our manager of Public Works. Other key activities, the council did approve the reappointment of the Integrity Commissioner for 2 years, rather, until December 2027. I attended Roma alongside many of our councillors here and included delegations with a variety of ministries. So continue to advocate on behalf of our residents. And lastly, looking forward, we continue to work on the 2025 job evaluation, pay equity, and salary review. So council will see some updates on that in the next month and a half, including staff as well. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Councillor Moore, please.
Just one, can you refresh my memory on the RFP that went out for voting? Was that some of our neighbor municipalities? How many were there?
Yeah, and our expert clerk, who is not present today, I do attend the sessions, but some of the municipalities would include, which were our partners as part of the 2022 election, were sort of the Laurentian Valley, Town of Renfrew. I think the city of Pembroke is part of it as well. So I think even like there was maybe even Arnprior, McNabb, Braeside. So we could provide an update report when we come back with the results of the RFP to award the RFP, and we'll have the municipalities listed. But I think there's greater than 5, that's for sure. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Excellent. We'll keep moving.
Great, thanks so much. And we move into the council business, which lists staff reports, presentations, and bylaws. And what this made me reflect on is as we moved into Q2, we were trying to put together agendas for the members of council, and what I was realizing is we had done so much in Q1 that we were having a tough time trying to find reports to bring forward in Q2. In any case, thanks. Go ahead, Lane. Just the amount of stuff that's been presented to council is relative to us approving our budget in December of the prior year. So it allows us to position ourselves to get to tenders, to get to RFPs, and to continue to work on budget-approved projects. So I think we've done quite a bit here, and it's reflected in the council business. Thanks.
Excellent. That is a very detailed report. I can't even say how many pages here. 20 pages long. Is there any final questions from members of council on this report? No. I want to really, before we vote to receive it, I just want to recognize all the effort that the staff put into producing this report. It's great for us to receive it. It gives us a snapshot in what's happened in the last quarter, what's planned for the next quarter, but it's also extremely valuable for the public to be able to go back and look at all of that detail that normally it just gets filtered with the normal day-to-day business. So thank you so much, staff, for everything that you've done on this one. Excellent. And with that, oh, sorry.
I'll just note, we will amend the banners to include Westmeath, and we will publish the document on our website. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Good. With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? And it's carried anonymously. Thank you. Unanimously, not anonymously. And with that, I just need to call a short recess. We'll take 5 minutes and we'll get restarted. Thank you. And welcome back to the Townships of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for May the 7th. Thank you. It is 2:48 and we'll call ourselves back to order. Next item on the agenda is our, mayor's address. Okay. Okay, so good news and bad news. Good news is I'm going to do this from memory, so it's going to be shorter. Bad news, I emailed myself my mayor's address, but as it turns out, I emailed the March 3rd version, which I don't know if you want to rehear, but so we're going to do this in point form. So since our last council meeting, which was back in April, I want to say the 25th, I attended 17 events on behalf of council, 17 meetings and events on behalf of council. Two that I wanted to highlight here for you today. The first one is the Renfrew County ATV Club. They had their AGM at the end of April and had invited me to attend. It was great news because the county did a presentation and included the whole discussion about the use of the CN rail line and how it's incorporated into Algonquin Trail. So very positive reception from that and be able to see. There was 3 or 4 takeaways that I wanted to share with council. The first one was they're very interested in opening the Ottawa Bridge along the CN rail line to allow Quebec access to the CN rail line through ATVs and for Ontario users to access the Quebec side. That's currently blocked and nobody knows why. So as part of that advocacy, I've reached out to the warden of Pontiac County with our warden to see if we can help identify what the problems are and try to solve them. The other thing is that the members of the executive of the ATV club have asked if there could be consideration to create branch trails off the CN line to access some of our tourism facilities, Wilderness Tours, Owl, Summerhill Resorts, Whitewater Brewery on the riverside. So we have linked up those executive members with the business owners and said, have at it. If there's any interest or anything that the township can do to help facilitate this, please let us know. Our manager of community services is looped in, and so is our council lead for rec. So some positive things that resulted from that AGM. The second thing that I wanted to share was the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association had its AGM and awards that were presented. And I have a picture on my phone to remind me who was on the awards. That took place last Tuesday. We had 5 companies nominated for awards from Whitewater Region. We had the Beachburg Fair nominated for Event of the Year. We had Splash Valley Water Park and Resort nominated for Business of the Year. We had Whitewater O'Brien Winery nominated for New Tourism Product, Wilderness Tours Bike Park for New Tourism Product, and Wilderness Tours Lazy River Tubing for New Tourism Product. So it was a huge honor to see Whitewater Region represented with 5 companies at this award ceremony. Whitewater O'Brien Winery was selected for the New Tourism Product. So great news and big congratulations. They also received an award from the Chamber. So they're really getting lots of recognition. So that event was excellent. And 3 other things I wanted to share was last week, and I want to say, maybe one of the staff can help me, Administration Professionals Day was April 28th. And we thank you to our acting CAO. She recognized our admin professionals here in the business, or here in the township. But I just wanted to make sure that we as a council recognize the importance and the value that our administrative staff add to the processes the corporation does. And it is very, we just want to make sure we recognize it. Very well appreciated. So, and thank you, Stephanie, for making sure that we recognize them. The next one is Emergency Preparedness Week. Emergency Preparedness Week, I think, runs from May 4th to May 10th, if I remember correctly. And we're doing some social media work, but it's just a reminder that people should take into consideration two aspects for preparing for emergencies. The first is to have a plan, especially if you have a vulnerable population, whether that's kids, the elderly, or even pets, to make sure you have a plan. And the second thing is a 72-hour kit. So the ability to be able to be self-sustained with water and food and some of those key essentials. That's essentially what we're trying to make sure that we enforce and share with our community. And especially given the current high water levels in the Ottawa River, which I'll conclude with is my flood update. The situation right now is that the Minister of Natural Resources has extended the flood warning until May 9th. And currently within the community, we have about a number of private roads that have water on them. A number of them are inaccessible. About 40 homes are inaccessible. There's been no water reported has entered any of the homes, but the people living in these homes have no access other than through waders or canoes. Our Municipal Emergencies Control Group, led by the CAO, is meeting on a regular basis. Our CEMC this week is the fire chief, and they are monitoring the levels. The current forecasts on ottawariver.ca indicate that we may be at a plateau. They're watching it very closely as to how much water falls as of yesterday and today, and not just falls locally, but falls across the complete watershed. And that will give us an indication of what may happen on May 9th, whether the MNR will extend the flood warning or whatever next steps might be appropriate. So we just remind the public to keep an eye on ottawariver.ca and to watch our social media, our website, for any additional information. Good. That concludes my mayor's address from memory. I hope I didn't miss anything. And I'll just to make sure, because the importance of the flood, the high water levels, I'm going to ask the fire chief, the CEO, if you have any comments you want to make to add to anything I just said.
I could add that the municipal emergency control group met today at 11:30. One of the action items is that we've noticed increasing sandbags being removed from the pallets that are in front of the Westmeath garage. So there's an increase in people utilizing the sandbags there. And our response to that is, and we've indicated this before, is that we replenish the supply. And the best way to do that, together with an opportunity for training with our fire department, our public works department, would be to submit a request to the county to get the sandbag machine, we'll call it, to the Westmeath garage in order to replenish the supply of sandbags at that location. So that is anticipated to occur, projected for tomorrow evening, together with a request, together with organizing staff and fire resources. So there will be mass communications to the public through social media that the replenishment of sandbags is not in response to the forecast of increasing water levels, but together with replenishment of what we had to support existing residents, and together with a training exercise, and to make sure that we could how to best utilize those assets. So more messaging to come on that, and we continue, as you've noted, Mayor Nicholson, to encourage residents to get the sources of information from the ottawariver.ca for forecasts and Ministry of Natural Resources. Anything else you'd add, Fire Chief?
No, that sums it up.
Perfect. Any questions from any members of council with respect to anything that was mentioned in the mayor's address? Excellent. Seeing none, we're going to keep moving. Next item is public comments, and I'll just ask the CEO, any public comments received?
There are none.
Excellent. And it moves in straight into reports. The first one is 9.1, the breathing air compressor. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the award of tender 2025-15 to purchase a comply Coltree Mark III Silent 270 EM breathing air compressor, supplied and installed by AJ Stone Company Limited at a cost of $50,880 inclusive of non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Moore. Let's go on to the fire chief. Good.
Thank you. So a little bit of a background on this project. Last year, we applied for a grant through the Fire Protection Grant application. We were successful in receiving funding to the tune of $41,613.98. This grant was specifically earmarked for cancer prevention initiatives, and we chose breathing air compressor as it fit their criteria as well as a major need within the township. So there were 2 submissions received, the lower one being from AJ Stone for the $50,880, including the non-refundable HST. This breathing air compressor will be installed at Station 3 Forsters Falls, as it's centrally located in the township. Will be located to support development of the fire training site, and it also has the required space and power grid to support it. This project will support the development and functionality of the training site, as well as improve firefighter safety and efficiency both on scene and in station, and will eliminate the cost of filling air cylinders at either Pembroke or Renfrew Fire Department, as well as the time it takes to travel back and forth. We engaged with the OFM as to deem whether this application fit the criteria, as well as some local departments that have air compressors, to see what their thoughts on their current setup and pros and cons, as well as with the Finance Department, Treasurer McGonigal, as to how to fund the remaining portion that was unfunded. So the financial implications, total cost will be right around the $56,500. This includes a partition that needs to be built, wiring, and a few other upgrades to the building to make sure that the compressor can be installed properly and to protect it from water and dust migration from the apparatus bay. So the next steps would be to sign a contract with AJ Stone, firm up a delivery timeline, probably in the 6 to 8 week mark. We can begin the electrical installation and the partition as soon as possible as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Fire Chief. I'll go to the mover first, Councillor Tabbert.
I think this is a great purchase for our municipality. Anything we can do to help our firefighters out is wonderful, especially keeping them healthy. Thank you.
Good. And Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great thing, but I do have one question that comes to mind, and I'm looking at Treasurer when I say this. Usually when you install something like this in your fire hall, you are open to neighbors' usage. So just wondering how we would set up a billing back, or how that would come into play for, we can't be doing it for nothing, so they would pay so much per bottle, and how the billing would be handled, and if that's been looked at.
Unfortunately, with this purchase, I don't think we're going to get a lot of use from neighboring departments, just because of the proximity they have to the full-time departments that are staffed, and they're able to drop the cylinders off immediately with no communication. Like, we would have to staff the fire hall, fill these cylinders. It's a bit of a headache logistically for both sides, so I anticipate most of that's going to remain with Pembroke and Renfrew.
Good. Any other questions, Councillor Trim?
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Fire Chief, this is a wonderful business decision, and I'm just wondering if you've sort of calculated the payback time. So in other words, how long would it take to pay for this upgrade, equipment and upgrade, based on previous costs to fill our containers? Thank you.
I was actually just talking to Curtis about this a minute ago. I was going to start tracking this year. We already tracked the cost to fill cylinders, which really is kind of negligible in the grand scheme of things. It's the travel distance and the staff hours and the fuel. And those were never calculated or extrapolated from regular hours and regular fuel usage. So I don't have a good grasp on that. So as far as how long it's going to take to pay for itself, so to speak, I don't have a good answer, but it's going to affect our efficiency on scene. We'll never be waiting for cylinders. We'll be able to fill them immediately. When we're doing training, we'll never have to, ratchet back the training based on available air supply we can carry on. We'll be able to speed up training without fear of running out of air before and while staying operationally ready in case there is a fire. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but.
Thank you. Any other questions? Excellent. Call for a vote. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good. Next item is the Jumpstart, Canadian Tire Jumpstart camp funding. So the recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region receive this report as information relating to Canadian Tire Jumpstart funding. A mover and a seconder, please. So moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Tabbert. And going over to our Manager, Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to share this report as a bit of a good news story. When we were planning for the camps coming in this summer, the conversation started around Canadian Tire Jumpstart with the Killaloe CRC when they started to inquire about equipment that we could provide or anything that we had that would save them from having to transport all of their equipment from Killaloe. And we went ahead and applied for this grant to cover the cost of the rental of the space as well as some of the equipment to be purchased, and we were successful in that. So we have already purchased soccer balls, soccer nets, basketballs, basketball nets, badminton nets, and volleyballs and bags and pumps and everything to include all of that. And this grant funding will also cover a portion of the rental cost of the Cobden Arena, and that will be put back from the amount that was requested for the increase in the community recreation grant. And that way we won't have to use as much in-kind as originally was requested. And as a note, just as I mentioned, the equipment is already here. So we're going to make the basketball nets available to anybody who uses the Cobden Arena, as they're already set up, and we would like them to be there for the August camp, which is being held in Cobden. Some of the other equipment, if Killaloe needs it, the balls and the nets can be transferred to the other CRC location, which was in Westmeath. And then going forward, the basketball nets, we were hoping that they could be placed outside, but I feel like based on the nets themselves, they'd be better suited inside. So there's a possibility they could be transferred to another facility for the following summer. And then on top of that, there was included funding for gas cards, for $200 in gas cards, which would be supplemented and given to any interested students who would like to attend the free CRC Impact Camp in Killaloe to be helped to lead some of the sessions at the Cobden camp. And the gas card would help them travel to the facility in Killaloe from Cobden and area to see if they would like to get some of their community volunteer hours in order to be obtained through this camp. So they can lead the camp and attend the sessions in Killaloe and then have a part to play in that. So this was all just as a good news story for council to share and what we were able to accomplish through Canadian Tire Jumpstart.
Great news. Thank you so much. Councillor Bell, mover.
Yeah, couple questions. So the equipment that's been purchased, that's 100% owned by the township. And yeah, I think this is awesome as far as ability to increase rec opportunities for our residents without necessarily providing programming. It allows us to have that equipment there for the people that want to use it. My one question though is, so the basketball nets are going to be set up in the Cobden Arena, correct, to start? So is there any opportunity between now and the camp for residents to rent out time slots to go in and use the basketball nets, use the soccer nets? Is there some sort of lending opportunity or rental opportunity to utilize those pieces between now and the camp and then after the camp?
So we wanted to keep the nets and the badminton sets in good working function up until the camp. So we were going to make everything available in the lending hub after the camp. so that for sure they were there. The basketball nets are already set up. They're on the ice surface, so if somebody rents the slab, they'll be available for them to use.
I just want, yeah, and that's awesome. I wonder if it's worth reaching out to all the rec associations in the township just to let them know that this equipment's now accessible, or after the camp it will be accessible if there's any programming opportunities for after school activities or interested members of the community that want to put on some sort of basketball or soccer camp but we can talk about that at another time as well. I think it's great.
Thank you. Councillor Tabbert, anything you want to add? Questions? No? Any other member of council? Yeah, Councillor Moore?
Kids Camp in August was discussed. Is there a date for that?
So it's part of all of the other camps that are listed. I think it's the Cobden one is the 4th to the 8th of August, or the 5th to the 8th, the first week of August.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Thank you so much for putting all of this together, and it's great news to see that it's gaining momentum and we're getting support from Canadian Tire. So with that, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next is 9.3, which is our annual landfill monitoring reports. The recommendations of the Council of Township Whitewater Region. 1, receive the 2024 annual report for the Ross landfill site and 2023-2024 biannual report for the Westmeath waste disposal site. And 2, direct staff to include the installation of a bi-level monitoring well at the Ross landfill site in the 2026 budget deliberations. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Superintendent Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to start, a little bit of background. So as we probably are all aware, the township owns 3 landfills, 1 active landfill, which is the Ross waste disposal site, and 2 closed sites, which are the Cobden waste disposal site and the Westmeath waste disposal site. So our consultant, JP2G, undertakes monitoring and reporting of each of the waste disposal sites as per an RFP from 2020, and that was extended for year 5, which is the year 2025. And JP2G submits on our behalf to the Ministry of Environment on the following schedule for each of the locations. So the Ross landfill reports are due annually on March 31st. Cobden reports biannually on May 1st, and which is every even year, and 2024, 2026. And the closed Westmeath waste disposal site has their reports due on March 31st, and they report on the odd years. So this year, Ross and Westmeath are ones that were reported on. So to dive in, so for the Ross waste disposal site, our environmental compliance approval, specifically condition 93 of the license, outlines a number of requirements that the township must undertake to ensure that the site remains in compliance. And some of those are, but are not limited to, calculating the annual waste volumes in comparison to the approved capacity of the site, maintaining a detailed inventory of all waste types and quantities, summarizing inspections, and summarizing any complaints received, as well as undertaking groundwater and surface water sampling, as well as assessing the need to implement contingency plans. And a contingency plan would be implemented if the site was ever found to be out of compliance with respect to surface water or groundwater. And all those details are required to be reported in the annual report. So in that report, JP2G has noted that they completed a waste mound survey in both on November 20th of 2023 and then again on February 5th of 2025. They compared those 2 surveys and prorated them a little bit because they weren't on the same day, but and they were able to see that the volume of the landfill increased by 6,915 cubic meters in 2024. So that resulted in a remaining landfill capacity of 320 cubic meters of landfill space. And so as part of the report, JP2G looks at the annual filling rate over the course of the previous 10 years. And they noted that the 10-year average filling rate for 2024 was 7,500 cubic meters per year. And at that rate, they have estimated that there is 22 years of remaining landfill life. So one thing I'd like to note is that for comparison to last year's previous report for 2023, the trending for the average landfilling rate was 8,500 cubic meters a year, so as opposed to 7,500. So you can see, at least in the last couple of years, the trend for the total volume that's coming in annually is trending down, which is great. That's a reflection of all the changes that are being made at the landfill, most definitely the landfill compactor, as well as the municipality's commitment to recycling and diversion of any other waste, such as grinding the mattresses is something that has happened newly in the last 5 to 10 years. And so those changes are starting to be reflected in the annual rate. So that's great. That's a great trend. So in 2023, they were projecting we had 20 years of life. A year has gone by. Now they're projecting 22 years of life. So you can see that trend starting to go on the positive, which is a great thing. In my report, I've actually included just a quick little graph to show the landfilling space consumed over the last, it's actually more like 12 years. It also shows the waste landfilled by tonnage. So I don't know if you can scroll down a little bit so everybody can see. It's a little bit small, but basically the blue lines show the space consumed, so the volume. And the yellow and green lines show now we have the landfill scale. So we actually are starting to get some data year over year to show the tonnage coming in. So the first, the yellow line shows all waste that was landfilled, and it includes the soil cover material. And then the green line shows just waste, but that would also include grinding. So you can see they don't track exactly on top of each other, but the yellow line is trending a little up because the last year and a half, the staff out there have been working really hard to get everything really well covered, and with the new staff out there, they've definitely been spending more time on making sure everything is in shape and will meet the requirements of the ministry, that everything's covered nightly. So that's one of the things that you can see most definitely, that having that staff member now in place doing covering on Mondays, that they're using more cover material, but they're making sure everything's covered properly and meeting that, which will help diminish any off-site movement of paper and odor complaints or anything like that. So it's great. So one thing I also wanted to mention is that these calculations are based on the 2014 ECA's design capacity, which for the total landfill site, the current design capacity is 375,400 cubic meters. And JP2G is currently in the process of completing their redesign, which will be included in an ECA amendment application to be filed later this year. And that redesign is being undertaken to accommodate the recent changes made to the site, including the scales and the new drop-off area. But that redesign also does increase the total capacity of the landfill by about 26,000 cubic meters. So that's going to include an estimated additional 3.5 years of landfill life at that 7,500 cubic meter rate. So what that means is they've said 22 years in their report, but in reality, by the end of this year, we'll be saying what's more like 25, 26 when you start to incorporate that extra little bit of growth, presuming that the ministry approves everything. So one quick note, as previously reported on, we did have an inspection back in August, and the inspector noted that just making sure that in our annual report, all the conditions of Condition 93, all the points, making sure that everything was included in the annual report, and I have reviewed that and ensured that all those items were included, and we haven't received any comments back saying that anything was missing, so that's great. Water quality monitoring was completed throughout 2024. They go out and do 2 groundwater monitoring events and 4 surface water monitoring events. 2 of them are, both of the 2 first ones are always scheduled, and the second 2 are usually done after storms. So in summary, JP2G stated that the waste disposal site is operating in accordance with its ECA terms. So that's great. And the full results from the water quality monitoring report can be found attached to this report, but also we've posted them to the website, and the appendices are quite long. It's upwards of 1,000-page report. So if you want to find the full shebang, you can find it online. So in summary, the report did recommend a number of things. The first being that they are recommending that we install a new bi-level monitoring well, specifically between boreholes 5 and 16. And these are to determine the potential impacts from landfilling. So borehole 5 is basically right at the edge of the active landfilling area. Borehole 16 is I believe it's a compliance well right on the edge. So they're looking to install a well sort of between these two to get a better feel for what the concentrations in the groundwater look like between these 2 points. It's sort of at an edge. It's a little bit of a blind spot. So they've recommended that a new well be installed there to continue the monitoring. And the MECP has confirmed that should be done as well. They've also recommended the continued environmental monitoring, which is something that will be that we do every year, and we should continue doing. They've also specifically noted that we should continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the groundwater trigger mechanism. So this is an ongoing process where they look at the conditions in the groundwater and to make sure that we're meeting the regulations that at the property line that are what should I say, the levels that we use to compare to remain correct. So that's something that's done annually, and they adjust them as necessary. And they also recommend that in 2025 the same style report is completed. So staff are recommending that funding be included in the 2026 capital budget, at least for deliberations, to undertake this well installation project. Like I said, it's a pretty important thing to make sure that we have eyes all the way around the landfill, and that's one way to continue to do so. So I'll quickly go over Westmeath. Westmeath is a closed site, as I mentioned earlier, and this sampling was undertaken throughout 2023 and 2024. And so they undertook surface water monitoring events as well as groundwater flow analysis. And the chemical analysis of the groundwater samples does indicate that the groundwater beneath the landfill site is impacted above background values, which is to be expected. It's a landfill. And the overburden monitoring wells, which is the higher level wells, revealed that the concentration characteristics are that of weak leachate strength. So that's a great thing that it's not a heavy load coming out of the landfill waste. They have stated that the site does meet the compliance with guideline B7, and there is no, it says there's no impacts to the down gradient water users. There actually is no down gradient water users because it would be the river. So they also noted that there are no health-related parameters measured that exceeded what they call the RUPO values, or the reasonable use policy objectives. However, there were aesthetic exceedances noted. So the difference would be an aesthetic exceedance might be something like iron, where it's not a health exceedance, but it doesn't necessarily make the water look or taste great. But the MECP has confirmed that the site does meet the intent of the reasonable use policy. And the 2024 sampling values indicated that all of the values were below the respective guidelines, and therefore the surface water trigger mechanisms have not been exceeded so surface water level spot 5 is one of the compliance locations. And so lastly, JP2G mentioned that the recommendation was to ensure that all key monitoring wells remain in good working order, and that we complete the monitoring and reporting as recommended in the ECA. As well, the reports will have already been posted to our website if anybody has any desire to look through those. And so lastly, under the financial implications, staff wanted to state that they do recommend that the installation of the bi-level groundwater monitoring well at the Ross landfill, and to include that in the 2026 capital budget work plan. The estimated cost to install this well is approximately $35,000, and funding for this project will be directed from the Landfill Capital Reserve Fund. And that is everything. Do you have any questions? I know that was a lot.
Awesome, thank you so much. That is a lot of information to try to digest, over 1,000 pages. So we appreciate it, and it's important to recognize that the full reports will be available online to anyone interested in knowing more about this. But I'll go to Councillor Moore first as a mover. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, just one question. Great report for reading. Looking at the graph you have here, 2013 to 2024, ladling trends, would the last 3 years' weight distribution through the scales have included everything that goes into the dumpsters that actually goes back out the front gate, or is all the weight coming across the scale inclusive of this graph?
So the weights included on this graph were specifically just landfill material. So anything entering the site, it wouldn't include any diverted materials like scrap metal or blue box waste or e-waste, but it would include wood, leaf and yard waste, anything that ultimately ends up in the landfill footprint.
Thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Olmsted was the seconder.
I have no questions, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Good, I'll go to Councillor Bell first, then Councillor Trim.
Yeah, sorry, I have 3 questions. So on page 2, it speaks to contingency plans.
Yeah.
What is the contingency plan of the township if the ministry comes in and says Ross Waste Disposal Site is no longer a viable option for dumping waste? Like, is that a scenario that could possibly happen?
It could be a scenario if the annual monitoring showed over 4 consecutive monitoring events that there was an exceedance that was unacceptable. So basically, they monitor the wells to get an indication of where the groundwater is moving, and if it moves past the property line in a concentration that's not acceptable. The contingency plan includes things like increasing monitoring, potentially it depends on where and what compound, but you could look at if there was a necessary requirement to purchase additional contaminant attenuation zones. So that is something that has been done in the past. Previously, the landfill was a certain footprint, and the migration of the groundwater necessitated them buying additional property. At this point, that doesn't look like something would happen. We're not seeing any indications of that from JP2G, and that process would take a couple of years. They look at this over the long term, and they look at trends that are occurring. Exceedances occurring for multiple seasons to show that it's not just a one-off, that it is something that's, so there would be some heads up. As far as if it was shut down, I would really hope that that doesn't happen. I think the ministry is well aware of that there's limited landfilling space in the province, and that would be something that we could look further into if there's alternate sites we could take to. But generally, the ministry is pretty good about working with municipalities and giving you lots of heads up that they give you opportunity to solve your problem, whether it's buying more land or doing additional monitoring to really figure out if the impacts that you're seeing are actually from your landfill or from other sources. So one of the things that we do see at this site is that we are surrounded by farming areas, and farmers use nitrates and stuff to fertilize their fields. So sometimes we see things coming into our landfill wells that are indicative of other processes around us or salting of the roads. So the ministry does allow you time to make sure that what you're seeing in the wells is indicative of your landfill. And they do quite a detailed analysis of figuring all that sort of stuff out. So I don't know if that answers your question well enough.
That's great. Second question was, do you see any negative impacts potentially with the new waste contracts coming up as far as the rate of filling at the Ross site? As an example, if we don't go ahead with garbage pickup for businesses, increased use by businesses for dropping off their waste at the Ross landfill site, will we, with these new contracts, is there potential we go from 7,500, we're seeing a slight decrease over the last year or two, but with this new contract, it goes up to 8,500 or 9,000 based on the new contracts. Is that something that you foresee or something you've considered?
So staff are going to be coming back to council hopefully shortly. We're waiting for some information back from some contractors, as well as we have a working group that we put together with all of the townships in the county to address this. I think, yes, we definitely should have some concern about blue box material getting into the landfill when we don't want it to be. I've looked at a couple of landfills data from early 2000s when there was no blue box to when they implemented blue box, and you could see definitely just drastic change. Taking that waste stream out definitely extended the life of all of our landfills having that program in place. So I personally think it's important, but I think we're definitely going to do some digging into what the costs are associated with offering it curbside to businesses, offering it as just depot only or both, and we'll be bringing back that to council to sort of weigh those positives and negatives and the impacts that it could have on the landfill. So,
and just the last one. Sorry for taking your time, but with the addition of this well, so the monitoring has been going on with the two wells that exist for like what years were those installed or drilled?
It would take me a bit to get the exact dates, but I would suspect they're probably in the is envisioning the graphs. I think they're more than 10 years old, both of them. I think they came in. They're not new wells. They've been there for a while.
So my question is, with the addition of this, I know that's kind of like a best, or the way I'm kind of reading this is a best case scenario to drill another well. So you just get that other piece of information for monitoring moving forward. But at a $35,000 price tag, are we going to see the benefit in the monitoring versus what we can already achieve with the two wells that currently exist? Like how much better is the monitoring going to be, and what benefit is that going to give the township moving forward?
Yeah, so I guess what I'd say is that where they've recommended putting in a well, it's a blind spot currently, and it's a requirement. It's on the townships to ensure that we have all eyes on the places that are necessary to understand where our groundwater is going before it meets the property line. As I had mentioned, that we do have some neighbors that likely have impacts that from farming and salting of the roads that impact that, and that well is necessary to be able to, I guess, define that a little bit better, because some of the what's the word I'm looking for? The conclusions that JP2G come to are that we're seeing this at the boundary well because of our neighbors' operations. Putting the well in between them will help to show, as you move away from the landfill, we expect concentrations to go down. So they're high at the landfilling face, and they go down over time until you meet if we see an uptick at that outside well, we want to be able to understand why that's happening, and you can't understand why that's happening until you put the well in place. There could be some unknown thing happening at the landfill, historic filling, different geology, that could be causing that. So it could be the landfill's fault, or it could be an outside influence, but until they drill the well, they can't distinguish that. And so these were things that were picked up both by JP2G and the ministry, so both have commented on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's, I believe there's 13 monitoring wells in the landfill area, and it'll help to show the plume's direction and where it's going.
So, yeah, so I can see it. It's a little bit tiny, but basically what we're looking at, so BH5 is here and BH16 is here. So you see this is a very high well. This is right at the edge of the landfill, and then we have green well over here. But the question is in this area. It is a little bit of a blind spot where there isn't a lot of monitoring. So they need to be able to define in this area where that we don't necessarily have something funny going on. Well, this one shows as green because they don't anticipate that the landfill is impacting it. They do see some elevated numbers in it, and likely to do with neighbors, but they also need to be able to sort of plot it in 3 steps to see, okay, here it's 10, here it's 5, here it's 2. And that's, you can see the decrease that this area is basically the contaminant attenuation zone, the giant filter is doing its job. That helps to.
Last comment question. So it is a recommendation, it's not just a recommendation from JP2G, but it's also been commented on by the ministry as this is what we expect moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Worthwhile questions. It's a very expensive asset, the landfill. So thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Trim, you had a question.
Yes, I did, but it was concerning the recycling, and that was Mark's question. But I thought of another one then. At 35,000, do we tender well drilling, or how does that work?
I default to lane, but I would suggest based on the value, yeah.
Likely, yeah. We'll with our we are going out for landfill monitoring consultant, and we'll include that in one of their fees. So likely it'll be through the consultant that will be doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions from members of council? I just had 2 considerations, and I'm going to point them at the treasurer. I noticed, and the chart that we came up that Councillor Bell was speaking to in terms of, where does that well fit into the overall picture? I just want to make sure that the wells themselves and any future requirements are part of our asset management plan. At $35,000 a pop, we already have 13 or something. Are we going to need more? If that potential is there, let's program it in. And the other concern I had is that, great news from our superintendent. We're getting more life out of our landfill. It could be up to 25 years now. Awesome. Is that plume, that green dotted line, is it going to go past our current property line in those 25 years? If so, let's make sure it's in the asset management plan if we have to acquire additional property. Good. Does that trigger any other comments from questions? Members of council? Yeah, Councillor Trim.
Yes, it's probably not the place to ask this, but I just thought of it. I think when Councillor Bell was speaking, and that is we are implementing strategies, and I think they're starting to show results, positive results, as the mayor just said. And one of the strategies is to use less cover by using blast mats. And I am just wondering if the concentration of garbage is going to increase the leachate, because there's going to be different ratio now for before we use sand or gravel or whatever to cover, and there was a ratio, and that's going to change. And I just wonder if that has an effect, or has anybody considered it? Thank you.
I can comment on waste degradation as a general topic. Generally, you kind of think about it, all the waste does need to break down over time. As you change cover, it'll affect how quickly it breaks down. So say a landfill that's capped with a solid clay layer will have a longer contaminating lifespan than one that has no cover, because the infiltration of rainwater and those sorts of things will speed up the breakdown. So you might see a higher peak, but then you'll see a higher drop off. Whereas if you had a more less permeable cover, you might not get as big of a peak, but it'll tail out a lot longer. So could we see a higher peak? Maybe, but the cover material that we use currently is sand anyways. It's very permeable. It's not I wouldn't say the blast mats are all that different. I know what you're saying, you're talking about the ratios, but we use a fairly permeable cover to begin with. And generally, the ministry doesn't endorse using clay covering at the end of a landfill's life these days anyways, because they don't really want it to extend it out any longer than necessary. So I'm not the absolute expert on that, but that's generally my understanding of how that plays out.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else? With that, we will call for a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Excellent, we're going to move on. More public work stuff. Next one is 9.4, the tender for the supply and application of dust control. This is recommendation the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the award of tender 2025-04, supply and application of dust control to Dali Services Incorporated, DBA Dali Dust Control at a cost of $108,476.16, inclusive of non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Moore, Councillor Trim, Manager of Public Works.
Yeah, thank you. This is our annual tender for dust control. Annually, the municipality puts out industrial in a road network for gravel roads. The township does approximately maintain 150 kilometers of gravel road. And annually, we put on dust control to decrease the dust on gravel roads, and also it prolongs the actual granular surface. If you notice, show in the chart, every year it does fluctuate. Last year was one of our last year five-year average was one of the lowest. Was a note that it was a wet year, springtime, and the road super does inspect what roads need to be dust control, and there is a carryover from the year before sometimes, so some roads don't always need it. But he also does watch it and maintain what roads do require the actual dust control. Tender 2025-04 was released on April 3rd and closed on April 30th with one bid in amount of $120,458, including HST. The tender did specify 260 liters of dust control, which correlates to approximately 110 kilometers of gravel roads. The 2025 budget included a increase of 5,000 over 2024, and total of 110,000. And staff will coordinate with the contractor to provide the greatest amount of loads within our budget, and also review what roads that require dust control this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, mover.
I don't have anything. It's just it's something we need to do, and I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Trim.
Yes, I'm a little confused about the calcium chloride and magnesium chloride. It's either or, it says in part of the report, and then with this, it looks to be, I don't know what the 30%, how that works out. And I don't know what the difference is. I know what calcium chloride is. I don't know what magnesium chloride is, and which is better, or why you use either. I'm a little bit confused there.
There is two products that is listed in the that's listed to use in Ontario MTO standards, sorry. And typically we've always used magnesium chloride, and the contractor has specified that they're going to use magnesium chloride. And this is the same company that we've used for, I believe, almost a decade now. They did change names, or they were bought out, I believe, a couple of years ago, but it's, it all depends on preference. I know some municipalities use the other product, but we have always used this, and we've had a good good amount of like the actual lane kilometers.
No other questions?
Well, I know we're applying less, and that just means, you know, more complaints. I'm thinking if we have a dry summer, I worry about that, but I guess it's within the budget, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, noted. Is there any other questions or comments? Councillor Tabbert.
In the report, it says that the contract was awarded for $108,000, but down below it says that the amount received, or the amount to be paid, is $120,000 plus another $41,000. I'm confused about all these numbers.
Yep, sorry. We always take it within the actual bids. We always take in the bid with HST, and then in the report we always in the recommendation, so it's tracked. We use with our non-refundable HST. So the tender price is with full 13%, and the non-refundable part is approximately 1.76%. Of HST. And then the other, 41,000, that's where to complete the entire 150 kilometers of road network, we would need an additional 41,000 of dust control to complete that.
So the dust control at a cost of $108,000, inclusive of non-refundable HST. And then here, $120,000 includes HST. So they're both including it, but they're both different prices.
I'll just make a quick note. So unlike other businesses where other businesses are able to get 100% of their HST that they pay back, like they can submit it back to the government and get a HST rebate, we only get 11.24% or 11.24% of the 13. It works out to 1.76% added on. So of our net refundable piece, that's what Lane has included in the cost. So you take the net cost of the dust control plus that 1.76%, the portion we can't get back, that's our expense. We have to register that as expense, so that's why we show it this way. So when it comes to the budget side, we're still under budget, and it shows that way because we've included the part that we have to expense. We don't get 100% of the 13 back, if that works.
Thank you.
Perfect. No, and it is confusing, so it's good to be able to go through it again. So thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, I'm going to throw one thing at you, and it really kind of speaks to what Councillor Schramm had kind of alluded to there, is that when we talk about surface treatment of gravel roads, it's always driven by the budget number in terms of how much do we have budgeted, and you work it backwards, how many liters can we apply, and then they're applied in the best areas possible. The question would be is what does that correspond into a level of service? And the level of service keeps reducing. We have to acknowledge what that level of service is going to reduce down to. I know it won't be examined as part of the asset management plan because gravel is an operating cost, but could there be a level of service identified so that we could recognize those changes? Is that something that Manager of Public Works could comment on?
And the level of service currently in 2025 is approximately 110 out of the 150. And the one thing we can show in years going forward that we can show what the actual percentage of road was receive dust control, and that will show that the decrease in the level of service.
And I thought about doing that math. The challenge is that you do some spots twice.
Typically, typically no. We try not to twice, but there is some areas that, and the big trick is to wait when it's not raining season, because if it is applied too early and then it washes off, so we try to apply it in late May to June.
Perfect. If there is a consideration, just so that it's not always driven by the number, but we're acknowledging a decrease in level of service in the future. I know that's a tough one. Good. Any other comments? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Good. Next item is the resurfacing of Wallace and Simmons Drive. So the recommendation is the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve the award of tender 2025-07 resurfacing of Wallace and Simmons Drive to Greenwood Paving at a cost of $67,050.78, inclusive of non-refundable HST. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Moore, Councillor Olmsted. Back to Manager Public Works.
Yes, thank you. Tender 2025-07, I'm resurfacing of Wallace Drive and Simmons Drive. Closed on April 30th. It was opened in presence of Treasurer McGonigal, Finance Clerk Moss, CIO Deputy Clerk Burton, and Road Superintendent Eady. Included two representatives from the bidding companies. Out of that, 10 companies did pick up the tender package, with 5 bids received ranging from $74,456.94 to $145,453.83. The lowest bidder, Greenwood Paving, included a schedule that aligned with the tender, with the pulverizing of the service, which will commence on June 2nd, and scheduled paving for July 7th. Township staff will undertake the road preparation throughout the months of June, which will consist of minor ditching, culvert replacement, and a new granular surface. The 2025 capital budget included $70,000 for this project, of where the Canada Community Building Fund was funding $37,775, and the remaining funds from taxation. With the budget is estimated to be full cost at $75,000, which is over the $70,000 budget amount. And staff are recommending that any budget overruns will be funded from the road reserve. With the public consultation, residents in the area will receive letters with direction to the website to sign up for future communications, and signs will be posted in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore is the mover.
Just that I was surprised at the numbers. It was nice to know that there was, 5 companies willing to come and work this year. So, but I was surprised at the number, and I'm sure the residents will look forward to this being completed all in one summer. So.
Good. Councillor Olmsted, the seconder.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I share Councillor Moore's opinion that it seems cheap for, I'm just looking at the scope of work. That's got to be a third of a kilometer or so of paving that we're doing?
It's approximately, it's 427 meters. So
Meters?
almost half.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's good news. Hopefully it's good quality work. Knowing this company, they do great work, so I can only think that it'll be top quality. Yeah, good news.
Good. Any other questions? Councillor Trim?
Well, following up on what Councillor Olmsted said, from the lowest to the most expensive, one is twice the amount as the other. So I'm just hoping that we will indeed get good results from this contractor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bell?
Just a quick question. So there's 10 residences, one business on these roads. We talked about Hyla last year going from DST to gravel, and similar amount of residents on that road, as well as being a little bit of a collector between two different roads. I'm just wondering what's the line of decision making to pave a road with a similar amount of residences, roughly a similar scale or scope, when we're talking about turning a road from DST into gravel that basically services the same amount of residences?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's determined through this road is it's more classified as an urban section and within the village of Cobden. And with this one determined was it was the pavement conditioning index of between 20 and 30. It is one of our worst roads. When it was put in the budget, we did have two pricing, one for DST and then also one for asphalt. With the low amount of traffic, DST the disadvantage was traffic because it's dead end, that it won't harden as much, and it will have loose gravel, so the surface won't harden. And with this, the life expectancy is 20 to 30 years, and with low amount of traffic, the life expectancy, if the base is properly done, should achieve its full life.
CAO?
Yeah, if I could just supplement a little bit for the members of council as a whole, is this, I think we've learned from experience with respect to Olmsted Jeffrey Lake Road, which was proposed to be converted from DST to granular at one point. Sturgeon Mountain Road was another one that we had considered to reduce the level of service, and then again, Hyla Road. In the immediate future, staff will be, when we present for budget deliberations, is replacing roads for their current levels of service. As we move through this asset management plan, which is prefaced in the quarterly report, we're looking at the roads in a comprehensive manner. So it's not, I think it's important, and our lessons learned is that we need to look at all of the roads together to understand what is the replacement cost for all of our roads, how do we program that replacement over time, and how do we fund that, right? So as we move through the next months ahead and into the 2026 budget, we were hoping to have a bit more information, or a lot more information, to help guide those decisions. So thanks for your response, Lane, but to supplement that with some high-level strategy and asset management planning, I would just supplement the response with that. Thanks.
Perfect. Any other questions? I'll just remark that at that price point, we're looking at about 130,000 per kilometer for 2 lifts of asphalt. Is that correct? 2 lifts?
1 lift, sorry.
1 lift. 1 lift at 130,000. So you expand that out, it is an expensive option to use asphalt, but the life expectancy and the cost per year for asphalt over DST is better, and that just flows right into the CAO's comments about the strategic perspective that they're going to look at roads in the asset management plan. Good? Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Trim?
I don't mean to be taking up time, which I could probably look up, but I'm just wondering, this will be highway HL4 and how thick compacted?
It's 60 millimeters thick. And it will be super paved, so not HL 3 or 4. So there is two different mixtures. So there's HL, which is Marshall mix, and then also I guess newer technology. It is super pave. One advantage is that it has a higher and lower gradient to temperature.
You ask and you shall receive.
and just to follow up with Sarah Burton's one through asthma management plan, and also some policies. I actually have a policy on when do we gravel and when have DST and when to pave, and the multiple factors of traffic is one of them. If it's in a village, if there's a number of homes, and if it's a dead end, there's multiple factors. But it would be a guiding document to have a policy around that.
Excellent, and that's exactly where we need to go. Good, given that, we will call for a vote on this item. All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. And I recognize the time. It is 3:58, so as per our procedural bylaw, I need a motion to extend the meeting until 4:30. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Tabbert. There is no debate, and I'll just call for the vote. All those in favor? Anyone against? And it's carried. Thank you. Okay, that moves us into our next item, 9.6, which is the tender for the surface treatment of Grant Settlement Road. The recommendation of the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the award of tender 2025-06 surface treatment Grant Settlement Road to Greenwood Paving at a cost of $638,645.76, inclusive of non-refundable HST. Mover, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Bell. And back to Manager Public Works.
Yes, thank you. 2025-06 surface treatment is for the actual DST and pulverizing for Grant Settlement Road, which closed on April 30th, which was open in the public manner of the previous tender. Only one bid was received, an amount of $709,188 plus, including HST. 7 bidders did pick up the document that was advertised on the website and Bidingo. This project here is Grant Settlement. Grant Settlement it's from Forster Falls to McCoy Road, and also it's phase 1 of 2 of Grant Settlement. Grant Settlement is class 4 road with speed limit of 80 kilometers, with an average daily traffic of 486. The current pavement index is from poor to good, ranging from 30 to 56 out of 100. This project is one of our largest projects that done in the last couple of years. It's going to take a lot of staff time and resources. It is 6.4 kilometers, and the part of the tender. Greenwood will be pulverizing the surface, and staff will be brushing, doing culvert replacements, ditching, and road widening. One of the major challenges, but major work is that we're actually widening the road from approximately 6 to 7 meters to approximately 9 meters, and that will allow for hardened surface on each side of the road for active transportation. And that was designated in our active transportation plan. And Grant Settlement was a road that was selected to be a short priority between 2022 and 2027. Greenwood paving, the pulverizing will take place the week of June 2nd. And with the completion of the surface treatment of August 21st, staff will be completing the road preparation between the months of June and July. With this road has challenges. There's a lot of tourism, so signage will be a major factor for communication. And the other challenge is with the county's project of Brooms Creek. So the actual detour will be larger than using County Road 7 through the village of Forster Falls. So there will be detoured to Cole Smiths, and we actually be using the same detour the county is using. So the letters will be sent out to all the business owners and also the residents along Grand Settlement Road. A schedule will be provided and the actual successful contractor. A project page will be has been created on a website with a sign-up form for future updates, and then it will be signage. There'll be two types of signage: one for the actual project and how it's funded, and then staff are planning to provide business signs of which way to go. So it'll be able to take like D22. It'll take what direction if you're going to a different business. And staff have included the cost of the actual signage in our project estimates. The project is estimated at to be $860,000, which is approximately $10,000 more than the capital budget of $850,000, which the majority of the costs would be funded from the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, an amount of $708,000, with the remaining $142,000 from taxation. The one item that staff do have a 2.4% contingency, which staff will try not to use. The one known fact, the actual budget, one unknown is the actual base preparation, which could vary because we use it by the ton, so it could vary, and that could be the cost variance in the project. But staff will be cautious of what the actual amount used, and hopefully the project comes in under budget. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, and I'll go back to Councillor Moore.
Just one question come to mind when you were reading the recommendation. The recommendation says 638,000 plus, but then under analysis it says 709 plus.
Yes, but that's the same amount that the tender amount came in with full 13% HST comes to 109,188.
709.
Sorry, yeah, 709. Sorry, apologies.
Okay, so that's the difference. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Councillor Bell, seconder? No. Councillor Trim?
Yes, I'm wondering how necessary, because this could be finished later in the season. I'm just wondering how necessary it is to put a line painting when it will definitely be gone by the spring. Is it something that, for safety's sake, that's absolutely necessary? Could spot marking be done? I'm using Rapid Road for an example. It was done last season, and line painting was done, and because of the nature of DST, the line is completely gone. So I'm wondering if that couldn't be delayed till the spring.
Yeah, one of the challenges with this road, because we are going a lot wider, so if it will receive a center line and also a edge line. So actually, we'll differentiate like the actual the lane width of 3.5 meters wide, and then the other remaining is the actual hardened surface for active transportation. This one is unique. We're actually including a fog seal treatment over top of the double surface treatment, which will allow the loose gravel to be minimized. The one downfall of DST, there's loose gravel, as you mentioned, and it can't be line painted usually, but approximately about 6 weeks after. In this case, because it is higher traffic and a lot of volume going for tourism, staff decided to include a fog seal treatment, which will ultimately extend the life expectancy of the road, as there'll be more float or stone on the surface, because it won't be pushed off the road.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to see this in front of council. This is way overdue, in my opinion. I think this might be the worst road that we have in my driving experience in the township. What would be the remaining kilometers to be redone? Did we do up to Fletcher Road or Powers Road previously? The Powers Road?
Fletcher.
Be from Fletcher. So the remaining section would be from McCoy to Fletcher.
So only a few kilometers
Yes.
remaining then.
That's correct. Yeah, I believe the total lengths of the two phases was a little over 10 kilometers, if I recall.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Perfect. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next item, Pembroke Area Airport Commission 2025 budget. The recommendation is the Council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the 2025 Pembroke Area Airport budget and requisition. And I think this is going over to the Treasurer. And I think we can abbreviate based on the fact we've had a fulsome discussion as part of the presentation earlier, but I'll get you to give a highlight, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So as they noted, the budget needs to be presented to all councils that are part of the participating municipalities, and they need to receive 75% approval before they can move forward with their budget. So based on their subsidy amounts, they estimate that they need $113,716 from the township. Whitewater Region's share is 15.78% of that, which comes out to be $17,942.53. And in 2024, it was $17,055.24, about $880 increase. And as part of the township's 2025 budget, it was presented as $20,000 was earmarked for this piece, so it still comes in well under budget, and that's just about it.
Thank you, Treasurer. I don't think I have a mover and a seconder. No, you didn't. So, can I get a mover, please? Councillor Moore. Seconder, please. Councillor Trim. Thank you, Treasurer. And with that, I'm going to ask questions. Councillor Moore, anything? Questions or comments?
No, I have nothing at this time.
Good. Councillor Trim? Any other comments from members of council? Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In light of the presentation made earlier, I'd like to recommend that the Pembroke Area Airport Commission, perhaps not for this budget, but for future budgets, review the other municipalities that aren't participating. I don't know what time frame last that they presented to the other municipalities, but as we heard earlier, they service 18 municipalities and there's 6 local municipalities contributing. So I'd like to see an effort made on their behalf to gauge the response of these other municipalities.
To consider joining the commission.
Yes, and we heard all the benefits, and the benefits are fantastic, I agree, from emergency services to businesses to emergency flights, etc. So I think the other municipalities need to see these benefits as well and perhaps consider contributing as well.
Excellent. I'm going to go to our deputy clerk here. And can I just amend that recommendation to include asking them to seek expansion of the commission?
Yes.
Yes? So, sorry, I have to, so are you prepared to move to amend the resolution on the floor?
I am.
Okay, so I've got a mover, Councillor Moore and Councillor Trim. You still support it amended to include that recommendation? Yes? Sorry, I will ask questions in a second. Yes? Yes, okay. So the resolution is amended. I'll get the deputy clerk to just amend it and read it out to us later. And with that, I'll take questions. So Councillor Bell.
So I'm fine with that amendment, but like realistically, if it services all 18 communities that exist within the county of Renfrew, why is this not something that's getting pushed up to the county level where we know this needs permanent funding, like I said, go through all the benefits every year? This is a question that comes up every year, that why are 6 communities funding this airport that services 18? And it always comes down to, well, it's a dollars and cents thing. It services Renfrew County. Why is this not something that's being pushed up to the county level to take funding out of the entire county because it's the community that it serves? So, like, yeah, I'm just wondering, as opposed to advocating to 18 or pushing this to 18 communities, why do we not push it up to the level of government that represents all those communities?
I can give you a shortened version, and then you can decide if you want to make that proposal on the floor. Arnprior has another airport, although it's not, I can't remember the language, licensed or certified in the same way as this one. It is in competition. If there was to be a consideration to bring one up, Arnprior, McNabb, they would also bid to have that one brought up as well, or could. So when we have had this discussion at county level, it becomes a two camps situation. It doesn't mean it can't come back up there, but it does get complicated by the fact there's that second airport, even though it's not equivalent in the same way.
So whenever we hear that report earlier today, they're talking about servicing 18 communities. Maybe Arnprior doesn't service the rest of the communities in the same way, but it's being serviced to a similar standard, if not exactly the same. So are those, like, is it really representing 18 communities, or should advocacy be taken to the communities that it actually serves versus the ones that are surrounding the Arnprior Airport? Like, that's.
I think we're mincing some words. There may be some services that are provided to everyone, but not every service is provided to all 18, and that's where it comes down to, that licensed or regulated title that it has and what it can provide versus, like, M&R does not use their airport in Arnprior to deploy fish habitat, additional fish, as an example. So, not a bad idea. I'll let you ponder it. If you want to try to amend the motion or include another step, I'll let you, but.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd amend the motion other than I agree. Like, I don't understand why 6 townships are funding the service that's provided for the rest of them. But just history as a paramedic, I've picked up patients from both airports. They are both required. They're both a necessity. How that gets funded is the question, right?
Yeah, good, and that's great firsthand. I didn't know that. Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Trim.
So again, that was my question, and so I agree with the amended motion, so long as the amended motion includes the municipality of Renfrew County when they're seeking support from other municipalities. The municipality of Renfrew County is also included. I want that to be understood as part of the amended motion. You understand what I mean?
Yes. I'm getting the nod from the CAO. He's working on the wording. Subject to him coming back to us and reading it out, I'll take other questions or comments. So noted by the CAO, Deputy Clerk. Yeah, Councillor Moore.
The big difference between the two airports, they still have planes and hangars and whatever, but Pembroke Area Airport has lighting. It's open 24/7. It has fuel, and it's sanctioned by the government as an emergency landing. type thing. So there's the difference between the two. Arm Priors is smaller. It's only for smaller planes and helicopters. It doesn't, the military can't use it, et cetera. It's not big enough. And they, I hate to say this, but they won't land there. They'll go to Ottawa instead because it's closer and it's better runway. But in Pembroke Airport has sanctioned and supported by, the military, what am I trying to say? D&D. So there's the difference. And a couple of years ago, and I can't put a date on it, and I always keep going because the CAO is typing, the rounds were made at other municipalities to come and join us with no avail. And last year, and I'm looking at the mayor, I believe the group did go to county and made a presentation. So they are working towards what the request was, but it's going very slow. And it's not forgotten. It's always in the back of our minds at the commission to try and bring more into the fold. But when it comes right down to it, a lot of times it's money by the taxpayers and it gets voted down. That's all I have to say.
Good. And yeah, Councillor Bell.
Sorry, just one quick question. Do we know if Arm Prior supports the Arm Prior Airport in any way?
It is a municipal airport.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is Arm Priors. I don't know if they have other partners. It's not a commission in the sense that the Pembroke area commissioned, but it is a municipal airport. Okay, I'm going to get the deputy clerk to just read out our amended motion.
Yeah, so that Council of Township of Whitewater Region 1 approved the 2025 Pembroke area budget, airport budget and requisition, and request that the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission initiate a new petition to encourage non-participating municipalities, including the County of Renfrew, to become participating commission members.
Excellent. I'm just going to go back to my mover, Councillor Moore. You're good with that? Councillor Trim, you're good with that? Any final questions or comments? Sorry, and that's your amendment. Sorry, Councillor Olmsted, I want to recognize that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Okay. Councillor Tabbert.
So what if one of these 6 decide to pull out of the contract? Then what happens? Or can they pull out?
The commission has a contract. There's a terms and conditions of that agreement that includes how you'd withdraw. I believe CAO, can you offer it?
I don't have those details. I would look at our treasurer to see if he has reviewed the agreement as part of this report, but we could come back with that information.
But there are mechanisms inside that agreement.
Okay, that's more or less what I was asking.
You don't need any additional
I don't
information?
need, no.
Okay, good. Any final comments? With that, we will, oh, sorry, CAO?
So just to clarify, the initial vote, if we're moving to a vote,
Is the amendment.
is the amendment. Yes.
Right, because it's not a friendly amendment.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back. I've got a mover, which was Councillor Olmsted. Sorry, because I can't treat it as a friendly amendment, so I can't go back to the two of you. Yeah. Do I have a seconder on Councillor Olmsted's proposed amendment? Yes, thank you, Councillor Tabbert. We'll vote on the proposed amendment that has been read out to us by the CAO. All those in favor? It's carried. Excellent. Now we have a new amended motion with the 2 parts. It was moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Trim. I will call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Excellent process, Deputy Clerk. Okay, 9.8, property taxation rates. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve a bylaw to set the 2025 property taxation rates. Mover and a seconder. I'm looking at Councillor Olmsted, Councillor Bell. Okay, and this is going to our treasurer.
Thank you. So every year we have to pass this bylaw after the budget has been passed in order to set the property taxation rates for each year. So on December 4th, 2024, the council approved through bylaw 24-12-17-19 the 2025 tax supported and user paid budgets. At that point in time, the levy passed at that point in time was 7.1%. That was the estimated impact on residential taxation. I will note that as part of the Government of Ontario's response to the pandemic and other extenuating factors, property tax assessments for 2025 will remain to be based on the January 1st, 2016 values. There is no timeline at this point as to whenever the property assessment system will be renewed, and we'll be given updated numbers. So part of the 2025 municipal levy, the total amount required was $7,748,500. The residential property class in the township is responsible for 83% of that municipality or municipal levy, followed by commercial at 7% and farm at 5%. The remaining 5% is split between multi-residential, managed forest, industrial, and pipeline. So due to the assessment freeze, property assessments, again, are unchanged for 2025. So the only change that we will see is with the addition of any structure changes or things that occur through building permits or changes of use on actual properties. So the total 2025 weighted CVA is $995,415,018. I'll do a quick note as to what it means when it's weighted. Our assessment rollbook comes in at one value. Whenever we are using to actually calculate the rates, there is a tax ratio that is set by the county, our upper tier. Each category is calculated against that ratio to create a weighted assessment. Residential is got a ratio factor of 1, so we take our total assessment for residential times 1%, 1 equals same value. Farmland, however, is got one value. It's only weighted at 0.25, so it only gets 1/4 of what it would be worth if it was a residential. That's what I mean whenever we weight assessment. So the township saw a 1.39% increase in weighted assessment from 2024, reflected in the 2025 return roll. 2024 had a growth of 2.89% if we're comparing, which is the highest we had seen since 2014, which was 1.94. So we've gone down in our actual growth, which was representative of the amount of building permits as we were seen in the year-end report for 2023 that was presented late last year. So the financial implications, so for a property that is valued as $100,000 of assessment, the impact of the 2025 tax rates is an increase of $68.55 or 5.82%. And this table that is on here shows the municipal portion, the county portion, education, and then grand total. So what was originally projected as 7.1, with the actual amount of extra growth that was not, I originally accounted for 0.6% of growth, and since we actually had 1.39, it worked down from the 7.1 to 6.22 as the municipal side. The county with their 5.52, I'm looking at the mayor, but 5.56, thank you, worked into being that increase of 22.96. The municipal was 45.59, which totals the 68.55, or the 5.28. I also put a note on here as a single-family home assessed at $194,000, which tends to be our more average assessment for a place in like Cobden, Beachburg, Westmeath area as a residence, would look at an increase of $132.98 for the year. And then if you look at the graph, you can kind of see the township itself keeps 55% of the overall taxation, the county gets 30%, and the education has remained the same at the same 15%. Education and county, which are the 45%, are unable to be changed by us, and the 55% is what's set by the municipal budget. So what'll go on next is, for the next steps, is these rates will be submitted into OPTA, the Ontario Property Tax Analysis System, and then update our rates in our system and send out the final tax bills, which will go out in August. And as you know, that's whenever we'll actually record the revenue for the year for whenever taxation goes out. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, lots. So I'll go to Councillor Umstead as my mover first.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Great work. I just want to note that there is a bit of a typo there. I think the chart is accurate at 5.28. Just the verbiage just above it saying 5.82. It's actually 5.28 for sure.
Yeah, it's 5.28.
28, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's good news.
Yep.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Bell, any other comments? Good. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Excellent. The only thing I would say, I love it and great to be underestimated and to be able to have some good news. We're essentially saving 0.9% on our, what we agreed to last fall. So excellent planning on part of staff in this case. My only pet peeve is that chart that you do. I would like it to show OPP as separate.
Apologies. Yes, he made that mention, and it does fall in. Trying to think offhand as to what that works out to be. Yeah, it's 9% off the 55. That's right.
Okay, it's good.
I should have used my budget presentation because that's where that one showed. One point I will note though at the time, the reason that I included growth in the budget this year was I was trying to make the actual rate that we would see as a municipality as close to what would be shown to the public at that point in time as to what they would actually recognize. And by the time that, since we are able to start our budget process quite early in the year, some parts hadn't come through MPAC yet, and that's hence why we had more growth than what I was originally estimating, hence why the lower rate. As we go through the process and I get a little more prediction side to it, I'll get that number closer and closer so there won't be a shift between, and what is actually passed and deliberated on will be what the resident will see to a greater extent.
Excellent. Thank you, Treasurer. Any other questions on this item? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Okay, so at this point, it's 4:28. We have extended until 4:30. Unfortunately, normally we would just ask for someone to put a motion on the floor to extend again past our 3.5 hours. However, we have a deputy clerk who cannot stay. So we cannot continue the meeting without a clerk. Therefore, we, I mean, this is the way that goes, right? So real life. So we've looked at the procedural bylaw. That's what we were kind of comparing notes with on the side. Any items not completed in the time allocated that's available to us is automatically deferred for 1 week from today. What I'd like to propose is that, based on the items that we have on the agenda, and I know one of those is Councillor Moore, so I take your input, is that we defer all of these items to our next council meeting on May 21st. But to do that, I would need a motion from the floor to amend our procedural bylaw to allow that to take place. Is that correct, Deputy Clerk?
Yeah, all except for the bylaws. We should pass the bylaws tonight.
Right. So before we adjourn, I would pass the two bylaws at item 13. Okay, understood. Okay. It's the confirmatory and the tax rate. Yeah. Good. So you would do the motion. Is there a seconder? Yes, Councillor Olmsted, moved by Councillor Moore, and that is to take the balance of the agenda, less item 13, and push it to the May 21st agenda. And I would take questions or comments. There are none. I will call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now go to item 13 with my last 30 seconds left over. We have two items under bylaws, the tax rate bylaw and the confirmatory bylaw. Be it resolved that the bylaws listed on the May 17th, 2025 agenda be taken as read and passed. A mover, please. Councillor Olmsted, Councillor Bell. Any final questions on those two? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried unanimously, and therefore we are adjourned at 4:31 p.m. Thank you, folks.